Yo, 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 and a cup of cocoa. What is going on, everybody? I've put out a lot of videos on, or I put out a handful of videos on arsenal building concepts and understanding cores, cover stocks, layouts, surface, whatever else. And so I figured that this would be a whole lot easier to explain because actual arsenal building is a bigger topic, and it's probably better to have interaction and answer people's questions. And again, this was more a teach a man to fish type of deal, or woman to fish, teach a person to fish, whatever. Then I have XYZ. What would you add with that? Well, it could be a number of different things. You have to understand your center, your conditions, your game, what the balls do, what different surfaces do, whatever else, because there could be 6 or 7 different balls that could fit in there where you're trying to fit them in, but you've got to make sure that you pick the right one for you. It's not one of those things when people ask me layouts, I can't really help with that. They ask me surfaces, I can't really help with that. If they ask me this, that, or the other, and it's like, well, you're supposed to know this stuff. And it's like, I do know the stuff in general, but I don't know your game. I don't know your conditions. That's going to be something that you've got to figure it out yourself. It's like saying, okay, well, I'm 150 yards out and it's flat. What club do I hit? Well, I don't know the conditions. I don't know, is the wind behind you? Is the wind coming at you? How far do you hit your clubs? You know, whatever else. It's like this is not stuff I can give you the general idea or help you figure out what you're doing so you can make better choices. So that's what this is about. Also, I was busy last weekend, so I was going to give away the Genesis packages that we had talked about last weekend, but ended up having a long day and didn't get around to doing that. And so I will refresh everybody's memory, and I'm just going to pick some people that are in the wrong one. I'm going to pick some people that are in the chat tonight, and I would hope that people would want to or that I'm trying to help some people out. So instead of just, hey, I just want to win some free stuff, if you actually use this stuff and want to try something different, or you want to try it to begin with, I don't want to hand out a package to somebody that just wants free stuff, you know. So once again, the package includes, and I will copy this. There's 5 of these packages. I'm going to put it in the chat. Oh, come on. All right, did I hit the wrong thing here? Control C. Control V. There we go. It worked that time. So yeah, we got 1 HyperRev tape, 1 PurePad HD, 1 K-Motion Precut, 1 sample pack of Excel, 1 Protects tape, 1 sample pack of Sync, 1 Trophy Ball Cup, 1 hard rosin. That stuff, you can go onto their website and see exactly what all of that stuff is. It's just accessories, tape, different kinds of tape, finger tape. The HyperRev, I think, has the little, you wrap it around your fingers, and it's got little rubber nubs on it to help you dig better. I'm actually wearing the K-Motion tape has really been helpful, and so I'm actually still wearing some of that right now. The hard rosin's interesting. The Sync, the Protects tape, the Trophy Ball Cup's kind of cool. I like that idea. So I will just randomly throughout the stream pick some people. So if you are interested, put something in the chat, and then I'll pick somebody and just, you know, message me on Facebook. I'll give instructions later, and we'll kind of pick some people throughout the stream. So, all right, we've already got a super chat, as Stu Williams says, I'm just here for the super chats. When a ball is described as slow, does that refer of the transitions of ball motion? What are the plus minus? Should slow be considered for the left? Slow is smooth. So it's when a ball is very, very gradual when it hits friction and hooks into the pocket. Stuff that would be slow would be like the Evoke, Forge, the Sub-Zero, the Super Cuda, Ultimate Defender, stuff like that is going to be, that's slow. So yeah, and slow should definitely be considered for the left. If stuff gets too flippy, it's a little hard to control, and ball reaction on the left side is already a little cleaner and sharper to begin with. And so generally slow stuff for righties is still pretty quick for lefties. So it's actually kind of what lefties look for, is stuff that does, and that's why lefties throw urethane so much, is because everything else turns sideways, and it's very difficult to control reactive balls on the left side the majority of the time. So yeah, who wouldn't want free stuff? Of course. Interested would use. Cool. Oh, before the party gets started, the Summit Ascent lane shine is not a benchmark ball. Probably goes just as long as the Ion Pro does. Turn my volume up here. Yeah, lane shine, you need a ton of friction. Like, you need a pile of friction to get that ball to see the lane at all. Turns out that when you raise the hardness on 20-year-old covers, it doesn't go well. But I digress. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get these up here fairly quickly. And so the ranking is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so it's not best to worst, it's strongest to weakest. And there's going to be all kinds of stuff that'll go. So you'll have stuff like the Hammer Effect is a 1 ball, but so is something like a Criterion. So sanded, shiny, whatever else. And there's also going to be differences here too. Just because I say that something is a 1 ball, you might have slower speed and or a higher rev rate and never throw ASIMs at all. So wherever you have to start on this list, start on this list. And so you'll be able to see trends as we go through. It's like, okay, that stuff's all way too strong for me. So your 1 ball tier is going to be the next one down. Or if you throw it hard and or have a lower rev rate, you might start off with something like a Mesmerize, which I am not seeing on the list for some reason. This actually lets me add stuff, though, so I can go on ahead and hop in here, and Mesmerize has to be in there. Because this is the list I use for the... I don't know. We'll go through. But you might use something like a Mesmerize, but also then drop down into a Theorem or a 1 reverb or something. Like a 1 reverb is a very strong shiny ball. Hammer Effect is a very strong shiny ball. You might start off with like a 2000 grit Mesmerize and go down into a Hammer Effect because you just need stuff that hooks. So yeah. Yep. Thanks. Thank you for the thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that for sure. Always helpful. Yeah, and see, this is one of those things before we get into it that's just difficult. I'm a two-hander, right-handed, 15 miles an hour rev rate, 400. Need a ball for the fresh. It really depends. It just really depends on your conditions, the center you're at, what kind of stuff you normally throw. There's so much information that's needed to answer this question that if anybody, I mean, we can throw out stuff, a ball for the fresh, you might be able to, depending on your conditions, you might be able to throw a Mesmerize, or you might need to throw something like a Cypher. I don't quite have the amount of information that I need to make that call. That would be a whole lot better question for your pro shop, who knows the conditions you bowl on, your game, whatever else. So that's the kind of idea that I'm going to help with in teaching people how to arsenal build so you can select, so that you can know enough to be able to select this stuff yourself. So, what surface do you use for Angel? Is it any different now that our speed's higher? Yeah, we actually started 1,000 grit, 1,000 on diamond dust pads. So it's a very nice, smooth 1,000 grit. So keep hearing pros mention that they see the lens front to back. How to see front to back and or what to look for? Yeah, front to back is just seeing what the ball does at certain points down the lane. You've got to look at when the ball starts revving up, or how far down the lane the ball starts revving up, how far down the lane the ball starts picking up and actually hooking. So front to back is just, there's a lot of people that just, they throw the ball and then they see how sharp or how smooth it is on the back end. And that's all they see. They don't see when the ball's picking up. They don't see where it's picking up. They don't see when it's starting to rev up. You've got to watch the ball from as soon as it enters your sight line, which it's very hard to pick it up before the arrows. But you've got to watch what the ball does all the way down the lane. You can't just there's a lot of people that'll watch videos and say, oh, I don't know, everything looks the same. It's like, well, not. There's some things that do look similar, but there's a lot of things that you can see if you're actually watching every single thing that the ball does all the way down the lane, instead of just watching seeing what board it's at on the break point and then seeing how fast it moves. There's a lot of people that just watch back in motion and they either think, oh, it's hooking too much or it's not hooking enough, and that they just see it so simply. So yeah, front to back is something that you've got to watch what the ball does all the way down the lane. I just got a Sub-Zero today. Can't wait to use. Needed something earlier and smooth. Well, that's definitely that. What are your thoughts on Power Edge? It seems to be pretty good so far. It's just they put stuff out of the factory way too glossy. So I think if you were to take it down and then, oh man, we're already Yankees are already making me money. Oh, no, he's out. Dag nabbit. Get the lead out, son. Get the lead out. Use thumb tape already and love it. Would like to try the K-Motion tape. Okay. Power Edge seems to be pretty good. I think you just need to redo it yourself. So you need to get the ball, sand it down, and then put a lighter coat of it on there, because they come out of the box so freaking glossy, and their covers are so clean now that they just don't ever see the lane. And so everything just spins and spins and spins and goes 80 feet. It seems like it's a really good compound. You just need to adjust the amount that is used. On a high friction surface, what order would you put a bag that is Kaboom, Hustle, Rip, Zen Gold Label? And would Venom Shock or Promotion overlap too much to also take? The Gold Label is going to be at the top. The Kaboom's going to be a step down, and then the Rip's going to be a step down from that. Pretty well perfect steps down, too. Venom Shock would actually go under the Zen Gold Label, but would be above the Kaboom. And the Promotion and Venom Shock kind of overlap a little bit. The Venom Shock's a little chuggier, a little heavier rolling, a little more dynamic. But the Promotion very quietly and subtly hooks a lot. And so there is overlap there. I think the Venom Shock seems a little stronger, but the Promotion is also surprisingly strong. The Promotion would fit in about the same spot. And actually, I don't know, the Venom Shock might actually be stronger than the Gold. It might be a step sideways. It might be they're similar hook potentials, but very different ways about going about it. The Zen Gold Label is going to cover a lot more ground down lane, but the Venom Shock is going to be earlier and smoother. The same with the Promotion. So those are all three in about kind of the same general place. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on there pretty quickly, and then we're going to talk about what you need to do to think about arsenal building for yourself, and talk about the kinds of things that you need to see as far as your conditions, your games, the type of shapes that work well for you, maybe certain companies that work well for you, because the companies all do have fairly different feels to them. Storm is definitely the cleanest by a long shot, and so if you bowl on dirt, like we're going to the Greater Tulsa Open next weekend, and the lane surface there is so ridiculously beat up that I'm going to take mostly storm covers because they are the cleanest. And the week outside of like NRG stuff that's on the Ion Max, their stronger covers are fairly strong, but anything under that, REX is ridiculously clean. TX16 that they've been using a lot is recently is super clean. R2S is super clean. So basically everything else but NRG and Microtrax is just really clean. And so they do work very well on dirt, what we call dirty lane surfaces, or very, very high friction surfaces. I think the Motive stuff is going to be too early, and the Brunswick stuff is going to be a little too responsive, but I drilled a Kinetic Cobalt recently. That's going to go. But I'm taking a Lane Shine Tour Dynamics that I haven't thrown since I bowled this tournament last year, and I'm drilling a hyped hybrid that's going. My Ion Pro's going. Then I'm going to take the Kinetic Cobalt. I also drilled a Parallax recently. That's going. So, yeah. Started using the Genesis tape and love it. I got a trial pack of the Genesis tape. I like the texture and stickiness. I wish they were wider. That's the same thing that Angel says because she uses the Storm tape, and she does like the Genesis stuff. It's just the Storm tape's like an extra half inch wider, and she likes that it kind of covers. She can put it on the back of her thumb, and it covers the sides too. The Genesis stuff just kind of covers the back of your thumb. So yeah, that's something that a few people have mentioned. All right, we need to get into this. There's the Mesmerize. I knew it was there. All right, I'm going to switch these so you can actually see everything. Once again, these are not ranked in order of how good they are or popularity. We're going to rank them on strength, on just overall strength. And I'm going to go with kind of the traditional, again, if you don't throw ASIMs, you can just throw out you can just throw out one completely. Because you're not going to be using stuff like, you're just not going to be using stuff like a Mesmerize or a Black Widow 3.0, which is probably going to be a 2-ball, but Max Bias, Crusher, stuff, Ion Max, you're just not ever going to be throwing any of that stuff. So you can just completely forget about the top tier. And if you don't ever get lower than certain things, then you don't need to look at maybe 4 or 5. You might have your low ball, might be something like a Zen Gold label. That might just be as far down as you get. So we're going to start putting these up there, and then we're going to talk about the different shapes and the different bowlers I think that these are probably going to be good for. So, all right, we still got some. Oh, no, he just struck out. Dagnabbit. I'm not a Yankees fan, but I like most of the players. Like, I like Stanton. I was talking to somebody about this earlier that they were saying, I just want to see the Yankees lose so bad, but I like too many of the players. I don't understand. And I'm a Royals fan, and they just beat us, so I should be mad at them and want them all to lose. And plus, the Royals basically used to be their farm club. So our guy David Cohn and Carlos Beltran and our guys would get good, and then they'd go play for the Yankees. Anyhow, all right. Without further ado, Black Widow 3.0, I think, is a 2-ball. It's not in Mesmerize, Alpha Jackal Fury, whatever the crap. Ion Max territory. It's a step down from that, and they it's a strong ball, but it's a little stronger than like an Absolute Power. It's a strong ball, but not one of the super strong balls. It's in kind of like XL territory too, a little bit stronger than an XL, but they designed the Black Widows specifically because they're so popular, the line's been around for so long, they want as many people to be able to throw them as possible. They want you to see, like Black Widow, I can buy that. I can throw it on tough stuff. I can throw it on, easy stuff too. So Black Widow 3.0 is going to be a high 2-ball, and I'll also rank these in terms of where they fit within that line too. They're not going to just be arbitrarily there. So most of the Black Widow 3.0 is going to be in the same tier as something like an Attention Star, but the Attention Star is weaker than the Black Widow. The Attention Star is going to be further down towards the low end of the tier, and most of the standard stronger stuff is going to be around the top of the tier, and the shiny stuff's going to be down towards the bottom. Scorpion Low Flare is hang on. Super chat. Doing a tournament on Wood Lanes on November 9th. Huge Radical fan. I have a Zen Gold label. Do you think the No Doubt would just be overlap? No. The No Doubt is quite a bit stronger than the Gold label. There is overlap on shape for sure. The No Doubt is just stronger and it's faster on the back end. So it's like a half to full step up. If you like your Gold label, the No Doubt is the same ball. It's just more of it. It's just stronger, it's earlier, and it's faster. So it's just a bigger version of the Zen Gold label. So we're going to get a run in? Oh, no, we're done. Dag nabbit. So, yeah, I think the No Doubt is definitely shape overlap. It's just not hook potential overlap. So, yeah, not a whole lot of Wood Lanes out there anymore. I grew up on Wood Lanes, and so I do miss the Wood Lanes. Black Widow equals Reality. It's pretty close. And it's really weird because the first batch Realities were crazy strong and fast. The first batch Realities, automatic 1-ball, but then I keep seeing people throwing it here, recently, the last year and a half, and I'm like, well, what are you throwing? And they're like, because it's just nice and blendy and smooth and round and controllable. I'm like, well, what are you throwing? Oh, it's a Reality. I'm like, there's no way that's a Reality. How many games do you have on it? I don't know, like 20. I just drilled it a few weeks ago. It's like, really? The newer Realities were significantly weaker than the original Realities, because mine hooked off the planet and turned sideways. And the newer ones just were not nearly as strong as the original ones. Scorpion Low Flare is not as strong, or it's not quite what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be kind of in Web Tour, IQ Tour territory, and it just was super aggressive with the box surface on it. Very, very strong and aggressive. Once it lane shines, it gets significantly cleaner and weaker, and it's still very sharp. So it's going to be, I'm going to put it in 3-ball territory right now. It's probably, I'm going to stick it in 4-ball territory. It is very, very strong with surface on it and pretty clean and flippy when it shines up. The Mantra is going to go in the 2-ball slot, even though it's kind of a cleaner cover. The Mantra is basically a deviate Attention Star. I think the Mantra is a little stronger, a little faster, and I would say that any B7 counterparts of Storm are going to be a little stronger, a little faster, which may not be a good thing. I'm not saying that like it's necessarily a good thing, but it's just Brunswick covers are they're just stronger and sharper / more dynamic than the Storm stuff. The Storm stuff definitely is. Their covers are quite a bit cleaner. So, in the UP and northern Wisconsin have a bunch of small wood houses. That's interesting. So the Mantra is basically a deviate Attention Star for all intents and purposes. Absolute Power is also a 2-ball, but it's R2S solid, so it's the IQ Tour cover, or it's R2S deep. It's basically the same thing. say it R2S Deep is a cleaner, faster version of R2S, which means slightly weaker. And R2S is already it's 20-year-old, pretty weak cover stock to begin with. But the absolute power gets more done than it looks like on paper. It's in kind of Excel's a little stronger, but it's in Excel territory. I need to make sure I've got the Excel on this list too. I do not see it currently, but there's 70 freaking balls. There it is. So there's 70 freaking balls on the list. So absolute power is going to be down further towards the bottom. Arctic Vibe is under the Scorpion low flare. It's still fairly strong. I mean, the Arctic is a sneaky strong ball. So yeah, the Arctic Vibe is something, if you bowl on drier conditions, there's I've got a two-hander, a college kid on my team, and he's been throwing this in league the last couple weeks, and he had been throwing a Mindset, and the vibe is the Arctic's a little cleaner, a little faster, but it's still awful strong. So we'll see. We might have to reshuffle some of these once we get everything up here. The Ivory Rhino Pro, this is one of the Brunswick releases for October that will be coming out in a couple days. The 24th, I'm pretty sure. But it's basically a Brunswick version of a Tundra, like the Tundra Fire, the Tundra Blue Fire. So it's definitely it's like a slight ball down from like a High Road Pearl. I think the cover is stronger because it's got the HK22 base, so I think the cover is stronger. But the core is like High Road RG IQ differential, and the High Road was quite a bit. It was like 045 or it's 257, 045, and 15 or 046. The Rhino is 257, like 030 or 031. So it's just not near as much differential. So it's not going to flare as much. So it's definitely a dry, especially out of the box. Now, Angels, once you put some surface on hers, we surface everything for her because she's one of those that she's just not ever going to throw anything near that weak unless it's got a pile of surface on it. So, yeah, can you rewind the show 25 minutes? I just got here. Rewind live stuff. Might have to talk to the marketing department at Brunswick about that. They might know how to do it. Sorry, I just joined in. What do the numbers represent on this list? Is it ranking strongest to weakest? Basically, we're doing this is kind of like the way that college kids do them. They rank stuff 1 through, and most college kids have a 6-ball arsenal, and they rank them in order of just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from strongest to weakest. Then most of them have the vast majority of them have plastic, which is why there's only 5 balls on this list, because 6 will be a spare ball. Some of them do kind of run I use a black hammer for my spare ball, and so it's kind of dual purpose. So yeah, so we're ranking them in strongest to weakest, but this is just kind of generally ranking stuff from a standard perspective. Like I said earlier, that some people are just not ever going to use a Mesmerize, or they're just not going to use ASIMs. And so you can just you can just kind of move the tiers around based on the kind of stuff that you throw. So, what would be a good replacement for an old Roto-Grip Uproar? That would be, well, if they still had the hyped balls, I think that it's going to be in hustle territory. I think the RG was a little bit higher. And we'll see if I can actually find decent numbers, because sometimes these are all over the place. It says 255, 030. So this would actually be in Ivory Rhino Pro territory, because it's like 257, 030 or 031 or something right there. So yeah, Ivory Rhino Pro. That was easy. Atlas Hybrid is also going to be, it's really close to it. might put this, I'm going to put this in 1-ball territory for now. I think it's kind of sideways of the Black Widow 3.0, just a little cleaner and sharper. I'm not sure it's quite that strong. We'll see here in a minute, though. Attention Star, like we were talking earlier, it's basically a Roto Grip Mantra. It's a little cleaner, and I think it's a little slower than the Mantra, but it's in that same territory. Beyond Infinity, I think that's still it's stronger, I think, than the Mantra. It's definitely a little chuggier and definitely quite a bit slower than the Mantra. But I think it's actually, the Mantra, it gets easier length. It's cleaner. The Beyond Infinity is pretty chuggy, heavy rolling, and is slower on the back end, but ultimately a little stronger, I think. The Chill is pretty solidly a 3-ball. It's probably going to be kind of in the middle of things. It's basically it's a Deviate Marvel Pearl stealth hybrid, ethos hybrid in that kind of strong, not super strong symmetric ball territory, idle pearl, stuff like that. Cypher is got a little bit higher RG, and it's kind of, it's a ball up from a high road, but it's a ball down, or maybe like a half ball down from a summit ascent, maybe. I think the ascent's cover is cleaner, but the core is quite a bit chunkier. The Cypher's been one of the sleeper balls that a lot of the pros have been using pretty successfully, because it's one of those that it's very controllable. It's got a good balance between length and pop, and it can get a lot of stuff done with surface on it. It can hook. I mean, it could keep up on just about anything with surface on it, and it plays all over the lane pretty well. It's just something that's very, very controllable and easy to manipulate. It doesn't really have anything that, some of these balls, you got to let them be what they want to be. But the Cypher can be kind of anything you want or need it to be. It's really pretty versatile. So, yeah, as long as people keep in mind this list is theoretical. Some houses might Fireball as 1-ball. Yes, that's why I'm taking a bunch of Storm stuff to Tulsa this weekend. Is the best ball driller in Lawrence and Kansas City area? Who would you recommend? I'd go see, in Lawrence, I'd go see Tyler at Royal Crest. And then there's several different houses. Depends on where you're at. In Kansas City, you could go see Brian Horn at Olathe. You could see Jeff Essery and Mark Henniger at Total Bowling Gear, or you could see Drew or Tobias. Tobias, one of my testers, works in the shop, Drew's Pro Shop at Gladstone. Yeah. Quentin Mamer in Belton is really good. Jamie Pugh at Lunar is really good. So yeah, there's lots of options in Kansas City, kind of all over the place, depending on where you're at. Since you've thrown both the Ion Pro and the NV Tour, do you think they're a ball down or 2 balls down from each other? I have an NV Tour and was looking at the Ion Pro as well. The Ion Pro is like 2 or 3 balls down from the NV Tour. They're just not remotely in the same universe. The Ion Pro is so much cleaner. Like, I can't throw the NV Tour because it's too strong, and I can't throw the Ion Pro because it's too weak. If that tells you anything. And I'll put them up here on the screen here as we're going through. The Pure Envy is going to be a 1-ball, definitely. It's very nice because it kind of shapes. It's a little cleaner and sharper version of the Extreme Envy, but it's one of those that can go pretty far. One where it almost feels like a Black Widow, a type of ball where it can be pretty clean and responsive with some shine on it, but it's still pretty strong. I think for me, it's just it's almost like a 3.0 with more back end. It's just a flippier, quicker 3.0. So they might have to go a little bit closer together. DNA Coil is either a very high 2-ball or a very low 1-ball because it's supposed to be strong, but it's a whole lot cleaner. It's a whole lot cleaner than it's supposed to be. It's supposed to, I mean, Exo Pearl, it's supposed to be Storm's strongest cover. It's not close. NRG is quite a bit earlier and stronger, even though it's not on paper. I mean, their metrics and whatever else might show it to be technically the stronger cover stock, but as far as actually using it on the lane, it's quite a bit cleaner and weaker. I missed it. What was your opinion on the Ivory Rhino Pro? It's a really good kind of drier lane ball. It's a little bit, I think it's probably right on top of like the Tundra Blue Fire. Might be a little stronger because the Rhino Pro or the Ivory has HK22. I can't remember if the Tundra Blue Fire does or not. But they are fairly close. Great bottom of the bag, drier lane ball, transition ball. I'm gonna put the DNA coil. It is stronger than the 3.0, but not by very much. And out of the box, it's just cleaner and sharper. I'm not even sure it's stronger than the. Keep moving it down. Yeah, it's not as strong as the Mantra either. So yeah. Yeah, great question. Radical, no doubt. We're on it right now. It might be. It's the strongest, sharpest, just craziest symmetric ball I think I've ever thrown. So it might be the ones. Well, there might be a couple of them up here in 2-ball territory. This is going to be kind of the one ball is going to be for like the strong. And actually, yeah, I don't know why I have that there. The Pure Envy is definitely stronger than the Atlas Hybrid. There might be some of the strong, like the Hazmat Solid might make it up. The Optimum Idol might make it up in this 2-ball tier. But most of the time, like the bigger, stronger ASIMs are going to be in 1. The weaker ASIMs and stronger symmetric balls are going to be in 2. And then we're going to get into so the No Doubt is probably just going to be the strongest 3-ball. Because it's not Optimum Idol strong. But it's definitely the strongest shiny ball on the list by a long shot. So I'm bowling Missouri Youth Tournaments at Gladstone and Ward Parkway this spring. How do those houses play? What lane surface? I've never actually bowled at Gladstone. I bowled at Ward Parkway. Ward Parkway's got some really dry, or there's really high friction, older synthetics. No, Bracken. Yeah, we're actually rating them. Yeah, could you rank them by strength in their tier? That's actually what I'm doing. So yeah, that's yep, already on top of it. So we are good to go. What does 1500 Saya Air Crown Compound finish mean? Basically, it means that they use the Saya Air pads are they're different kinds of Abralon pad. They're different sanding pad, a different kind of sanding pad. And so they take it to 500 grit, and then they use the Crown Compound, which is not. It polishes the ball, but it's not a polish. A compound is a little bit high. It's a higher grit finish. It's not necessarily a polish. So a polish would get something very shiny. A compound gets it very high grit to where it does kind of shine up, but it's not like glossy. I'm slightly rev dominant and try to high aero X for a burn ball. It's a little too smooth. My college is staffed with Brunswick. Any recommendations for them for a burn ball? The Ivory Rhino Pro or the Tundra Blue Fire are both really good. And they definitely won't be too smooth. Yeah. It's a duller polish. So that's a good way to explain it too. Criterion is going to go at the top of the 1-ball slot for right now. It's not the strongest of the strong. It's like a baby half step down from like a Mesmerize and Extreme Envy. The really, really big, chunky, strong stuff. It's just a little tiny half step down. It's a little cleaner and sharper, but it's like a bigger version of the Pure Envy. And so the criterion would be between something like a Mesmerize and a Pure Envy. Not that there's a whole lot of room to squeeze something in there, but it's just the criterion's a little weaker version of the Mesmerize, and the Pure Envy is a little bit weaker version of the criterion. Yeah, Ocean Vibe is on there. It's down there somewhere. And if it's not, I can actually add it. I used to, the Ocean's actually, I'm kind of keeping this list to like 2024 balls or more current stuff because there's already 70 balls on the list. So, yeah, we can talk about some of the stuff that's a little bit older later if we have time. Hammer Effect is definitely a one ball. It's borderline stronger than the Criterion. Like the Hammer Effect is probably the strongest shiny ball I've ever thrown. It is just crazy, crazy strong. Even with the shine on it, it is just crazy, crazy strong. So I would put it even at the box surfaces. I would still say the effect is stronger than the Pure Envy. Endeavor's a very low 4-ball or it might end up at the very top of the 5-ball slot. It is very fast. It's the sharpest ball I've ever thrown. Very extremely, extremely sharp on the back end, but it is a cleaner cover. It is a little bit weaker core. It's not super weak, but I do have the Arctic stronger than it. I do have the Cypher a little stronger than it is. I got the Low Flare a little bit stronger than it is. Yeah, slapstick. I can't say that on YouTube, but that's funny. Fireball Purple Gold. This one's very sneaky. I think it's just it's actually under the Scorpion Low Flare. Chisholm. Oh, no, well, yeah, it's just a little trickler. I like Chisholm, too. Like Rizzo, Stanton, Judge, Weaver, Cole. Like a lot of Yankees. Richard, who's your favorite little rascal? All right, so yeah, the Endeavor is pretty clean. Well, actually, the Endeavor is stronger than the Fireball, so I kind of have to do this. This is what gets tricky about these lists. GB5 is it's going to be one of it's actually it in the no doubt. Like this is legitimately the GB5 Optimum Idol, similar territory. The GB5 is a little faster. Typically, okay, so Black Hammer typically people put these down in weaker spots. So this would be like a 5 or a 6 ball because it's going to be, even though like urethane balls are stronger and earlier than anything, they're very, very smooth. And so left to right, they don't. Front to back, they outhook everything. Left to right, they don't. They outhook nothing. So 5 or 6 ball, don't really need to talk too much about that one. Harsh reality solid, it's going to be, I think the Hammer Effect is, I think the Hammer Effect's even stronger than the harsh. But I probably, just because it's sanded, I probably should put it up there. It's earlier than the Criterion, but I think it's definitely smoother than the Criterion. I think the Criterion is the stronger ball out of all of them. The Harsh Reality Pearl is in Atlas Hybrid territory. Very similar balls. The Atlas Hybrid is sneak. Both of these are sneaky good. Like the Harsh Reality, nobody asked for, nobody wanted, nobody really likes it. It gets the job done, but it's kind of boring and just you put it down the side and it is what it is. It's kind of in the pure madness territory. It's not exciting. Very good at what it does. Not exciting, but you just kind of put it down the side and probably better than I'm giving it credit for. But kind of simple and boring. Atlas Hybrid and Harsh Reality are very good, cleaner and sharper strong balls, but also very versatile left to right. They're stronger covers, so they can play on a decent amount of oil, but they can also, they're cleaner too, so they can get down quite a bit further than so I just picked up the Fireball PG to go below my Hustle X-Ray. If you keep the X-Ray at 2000 grit, that'll probably work. But my local league house shots have been on the drier side this year. The HRP every time. So I'm still programmed to see HRP as High Road Pearl. And somebody left a comment the other day talking about the HRP and how strong it was, and I'm like, the High Road Pearl was a very weak ball, and then I'm like, oh well, Harsh Reality Pearl HRP. What would Reserve Blend 902 Pearl compare to cover wise from the Storm Roto covers? I think that the Global at the top for a while had been using like Storm's GI covers. So like the reality was kind of basically like the Global Sherlock. Because it's not as early and slow as NRG. NRG / Microtracks is very, very identifiable. Like the where is it down here? The Sublime Focus, very obviously NRG, very obviously. But that's the early. There's a significant difference between that cover and some of the other covers. But yeah, that's going to be, and the GI covers they haven't really used for a while, so it's kind of difficult to say because they haven't. It's not. It's going to be closer to NEX, I guess. The GI covers and NEX kind of acted similarly, strong, but also a bit of punch on the back end. So, would the Scorpion Strike be similar shape or same spot in the bag as the OG Sublime? Yeah, on paper it's supposed to be a little weaker, but again, the Brunswick cover is a little stronger, more dynamic. So yeah, the Scorpion Strike and Sublime definitely are in very similar spots. The Hater is very interesting because the cover is really strong, but the core is kind of on the weakish side for an ASIM. The Hater is basically like a DV8 RSTX1. So it's the kind of higher RG, a little bit weaker but still asymmetric core. So, and this one's a little difficult to place. I would probably put it there. That one's tough. We might have to move that around later. Hazmat Solid is a Hammer Phase 2 or a Hammer GB5. Just your typical strong symmetric ball. It shapes more like a Phase 2. The GB5 is more like a super strong IQ Tour. The Hazmat Solid is basically a Phase 2, but on tougher stuff, on heavier volume tougher stuff, outside of Microtracks NRG is a really good cover for Storm. Outside of that cover, I generally prefer for volume or tougher stuff, I prefer the Brunswick covers because they see the lane through the oil better. The one reverb is definitely, this one's really strong. It's right next to the effect on like strong shiny stuff. Very strong, very dynamic, very strong core too, like sneaky strong. You don't see a whole lot of int diffs that are 027 anymore. They're close to 030 unless it's a radical ball. Hustle BRY is going to be okay, so can't do that. Hustle BRY is that's going to score a run for the Guardians. If he can chug in there, that was a good hit. Dagnabbit. Well, I need to hit I took the over on the game, but I also took the Yankees to win by more than 1.5. So I need the runs either way to get to the over. Hater has an 024 int diff too. Yeah, it does, but I think it's also got like a 254 RG. So most of the Hater's strength is in diff and int diff. So very strong, lots of flare, very strong asymmetry, but a higher RG, which helps it get down the lane easier. So it's a it's a nice kind of an interesting step in between like your typical ASIMs and then your cleaner ASIMs and whatever else, because stronger cover, again, lots of stuff there. But yeah, just a unique kind of different ball than whatever else is on the market right now. We're gonna buy the Diamond Dust pads. You got to get them from Jayhawk Bowling Supply, because they own the pads basically. So, and that's all I use, but they work best on a resurfacing machine. They're very thin and they're kind of hard to hold by hand. They're not something that you really want to surface a ball by hand with. They're easier. Like if you have the drill sanding system where you mount it to that cup that goes on the drill, you're going to want to mount it to something like something cupped to be able to hang on to it. They're more meant for a resurfacing machine. But again, if you have the drill system or a resurfacing block, like the little cup thing that you can mount it to, that'd definitely be the best. Texas looks like trash. Oh, it's a good thing I bet on Texas tonight. Amazing. I just made some money the last couple days too, and Michigan screwed me today. Let me give away one of the Genesis packages really quick, because we've gone a long time and I haven't really done that. So, and this is going to be tough. I should have just given them out to. This is tough giving out stuff on YouTube, because the YouTube doesn't have a message system anymore. You can't DM somebody, and so you can pick somebody to win, but actually getting in contact with them is difficult and a little sketchy. So, who wants the first Genesis package? There's 5 of them. I was going to pick, there was somebody that put a comment up here, 190 average dad. 190 average dad. If you're still in here, put something in the Genesis package. Well, let's just okay. All right. Okay. 190 average dad gets the first one. Send me a message on Facebook. Not the Luke Rosedahl bowling, just my regular, because the bowling one, I hate getting messages on there because it's stupid. So just send it to my regular Facebook account. And so yeah. Okay. Who else do we got? I've got to send one to Max. I have to. Max does a lot of good things, so we're going to send one to Max. I hate picking stuff like that. I hate giving stuff away. Not that I hate giving stuff away. I just wish I could give it to everybody. Because then I feel bad for the people I didn't pick. All right. I know Max. I can get in contact with Max. 190 average dad. Send me something on Facebook and your details, because Genesis is going to send this stuff out.
That's 2. Just keep going. You pick 2 more.
Well, I don't want people to like. I don't, because if somebody says that they want something and I pick it like 45 minutes later and they're not here, it's just too difficult to do this. But they said they wanted to give some stuff away, so.
Well, I can get in the chat and I can just watch and pick people.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna let Angel do it. Just look at the chat because I already gave one to 190 average dad and then Max, and so start at like 1950 or 750 or whatever.
I'll watch for the giveaway. You do the questions for the balls.
Oh, real name JL. We friended on. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then send me a.
That's the most helpful. If they tell you who you are in the comments.
Yeah. So make sure you. And I know Max. So tell me what your real name. Post your real. If I pick you, post your real name in the comments so that somebody doesn't try to scam the system and say, "Oh yeah, I'm." Send me a Facebook message and say, "Oh yeah, I'm so and so." So, yeah, give the car away. Yeah. Anyway, moving on because some people want to see bowling ball stuff. Hustle X-Ray it's not Scorpion low flare strong, but the X-Ray is a sneaky good one. The X-Ray is kind of the numbers are a little different. It's in IQ Tour territory, but I think it's like in Cypher territory as far as versatility goes. Oh, okay. Thanks, JL. I got your message. We'll be good to go for one of those. The Summit Ascent is a weaker. It's a strong symmetric core, but it's a fairly mediocre. It's a slightly bigger IQ Tour, so it's going to be kind of towards the end of the 3-ball. Intense Mindset is right up here next to. I can put it either. I think it's actually a little stronger than the Atlas Hybrid. I could be wrong. It's a little cleaner than it though, so we'll do that. Ion Max is. I think it is stronger than the Criterion. Ion Max is one of the. I think the Ion Max is like the SPI ball of the year. That or the Attention Star is like half and half. The Attention Star has been out longer, but X-Ray hooks way more than expected. They juiced because the hardness thing had hit the weaker covers pretty hard, and so I think they juiced starting with the IQ Ruby. That's why the Ruby surprised a lot of people. So it was like, holy crap, this thing moves. So they juiced some of the R2S. I think R2S now is R3S. I think they just bumped some of the covers up. So I think that the Hustle X-Ray actually has R2S on it, like R2S actual on it, instead of Reactor like it used to be, even though it's VTC. VTC is basically Reactor. So yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, Randy and Melissa. I saw your question up there. Max versus the OG Gem. The Max is not as chonky, but it's definitely in this. It feels kind of similar. It's not quite as early, but it's a little faster, and it's actually more versatile somehow. I think the Ion Max and the Magic Gem are fairly close together. But the Ion Max is the real deal. So yeah. Ion Pro. This ball is supposed to be stronger than it is, but it's just not. I think it's even weaker than the Summit Ascent. Like it's just, well, I can't quite say that, but it's weak. And even calling it a 3-ball is kind of. The Summit Ascent might actually be down in 4-ball territory because it's just not strong, and neither is the Ion Pro. Oh, what do you mean when you say a ball is chunky? Chonky. Same difference. Just, heckin' chonker. Just, it basically what it means is chuggy. And just think of a lot of bowling terms are just regular terms used to describe bowling things. So if you think of something chugging along, saying something is chuggy means it's stronger, it's earlier, it wants to slow down really fast, and so it's one of those balls that just feels like it's trying to dig through the lane. Like I would say that the original Gem is chonky. very chuggy. Hits the lane, just instantly starts slowing down and rolling very heavy. Yeah, Pro is quicker than the Ascent, but overall close. Yes, I would agree with that. The Pro is definitely sharper on the back end, but it's about the same strength-wise. Kaboom is... It's supposed to be a little stronger than that, but it's pretty clean and on the weaker side. It's supposed to, I mean, it's based on paper, it's basically a Columbia Endeavor, is basically what it is. But I found the Endeavor to be quite a bit stronger than the Kaboom. Crusher. The Crusher is right either side of the Pure, and it's pretty similar. I think it's actually stronger than the yeah, it's stronger than the Atlas. Not quite as much as the, well, no, it's actually a little bit stronger than, well, it's on top of the Pure Envy. I think the Crusher's smoother. It's a little stronger, but it's smoother. Lightning Blackout is in Endeavor territory, Endeavor Fireball. But you can get something else. You can just get a Fireball for like $50 less. So just get the Fireball. Max Bias, very, very strong ball. I don't think quite as strong as the Ion Max. I don't know. Max Bias is really strong, but it's not quite as diggy as the Max. Well, it is kind of diggy. That one's tricky. These are the overall back and forth. Mesmerize is definitely the strongest ball. Yeah, it's a lot of balls to rate. The Clone, where would the Clone fit? The Clone would be, it's stronger than the Absolute Power, probably between the Attention Star and the DNA Coil. It was a weaker cover. Optitrax is just a little stronger than E-Trax, so it's still a cleaner cover. So it's one of the cleaner cover ASIMs, so it's not quite the big, chunky, super strong stuff, but it's not quite as far down. I mean, it came polished, and it was junk polished, but I think it's a little bit stronger Absolute Power type of territory. Messenger Power Core, that's right under the Chill. It's not quite as strong as stuff like the Chill or the Stealth Hybrid or the Ethos Hybrid, but it's still up there, I think. It might... it's stronger than the Ion Pro and the Summit Ascent. So the Ion Pro and Summit Ascent might actually get bumped down to 4-ball territory. The Evoke, it's pretty strong. It's on the slower side. Yeah, we're gonna put the Evoke right there because it's in the territory of the Pure Envy and Crusher. It's just slower. It's a little earlier though, so it's probably strong. Well, that one would be hard. I'll put it here for now. It is pretty strong. Yeah, that's a ton of balls. How many people get to test every single ball that comes out? I know that I think, well, J.R. Raymond and the Hype, I think, do the most of them because they get, J.R. Raymond throws everything. I think the Hype, Hutch throws everything too. Any tips on lowering ball speed? I already have a slow approach. Slow approach and actually get a little bit closer to the line. Take like a couple steps up on the approach. That way you'll take, even if you're already going slow, if you move up a little bit, you're going to take shorter steps, and that'll slow you down a little bit too. Some people naturally have higher speed, though, and so you might actually consider going up to 16 pounds. If you throw 15s right now and you need to get your ball speed down, some people just have naturally very high speed, and maybe 16s don't really work for you. Maybe that's not the right thing to do, but you might try it just for the heck of it. I'm currently using a Sublime 3000 step down from a GB5. It's cleaner, but it also not wanting to get back to the pocket. What would be a good step down with similar shape? A Sublime that would shape similar as something that would be a better step down from the GB5, I think would be the No Doubt. Something like the Sublime that's not going to be as clean. Again, that's going to be No Doubt. Stealth Hybrid. Maybe Ethos Hybrid. That one's new. That one's coming out on the 24th, I'm pretty sure. That one's pretty good. I just finished editing the review for it. I think that review will come out on Monday. Nuclear Forge is one of the stronger symmetric balls, but it's definitely under. Well, the nuke. I think actually the nuke is under the No Doubt. So we'll see where the No Doubt ends up being. The Sub-Zero. And surprise, surprise, I will have a Sub-Zero review because Angel got one, and then one of our buddies, Riley Patton, that used to do the motive reviews for the Bowling Fix a year or two ago, he got one, and he just happened to be close. He just happened to have nothing to do and could come out and film on a day that we were already filming. So we've got a low rev and a high rev look at the Sub-Zero. The Sub-Zero is probably the strongest symmetric ball on the market. The GB5 is awful close at box. If they were at the same surface, the GB5 is faster. So that probably, I think the Forge is definitely stronger than the Hazmat. It kind of shapes a lot like the Hazmat, earlier and smoother. I think the GB5 with surface on, if they're all at the same surface, I think the GB5 is the strongest. Sub-Zero, the strongest aggregately with both actual strength and how fast it is. It's got a good amount of pop for how strong it is. The Sub-Zero, I think, just they're neck and neck on strength. I think the Sub-Zero is earlier. I think it's earlier, heavier rolling. You mentioned a few brands that could go and no one would care. Does Swag go before any of the Brunswick brands? Swag's got its own little. They're kind of figuring it out. I think they kind of had a little bit of an identity, and then they got stupid with it. They didn't. You have
It really worked well overseas.
Yeah, I guess that they're really popular overseas, but you got to know your market, and you've got to be, even if you're not taking yourself seriously, you have to take the bit seriously, like you have to commit to it. If you're going to be Jim Carrey, you need to commit to being Jim Carrey, which Jim Carrey's slapstick way out left field, but he took it seriously. He committed to the bit. Swag started becoming a parody of themselves. And now I think they're kind of righting the ship a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of got its own little following like Motive does, because Motive works because they don't pay attention to what anybody else is doing. They go their own direction. They keep the blinders on. They focus on what Motive is doing, and they feel more like a throwback company where, they don't release a whole lot of stuff a year. It's one ball every 45 days, every month and a half. That's easy for people to keep track of. It's easy for people to follow. They know what stuff is. They're more familiar with it. It's just easier to kind of keep track of. And I think Swag's kind of the same way. It's a smaller brand. It's a whole lot easier, more manageable for people to stick to. And there's a lot of people that do like that. Plus, it's not one of the big brands or one of the brand names. It's kind of like an off brand that, yeah, some people like using stuff that nobody else uses just for the simple fact that nobody else uses them. What would a good mid-level solid ball would be? I need something not strong or weak. I think you're going to be looking at like the Summit Ascent, Cypher, Scorpion Low Flare. What is the new Venom Shock? I mean, a Venom Shock's a hard one to beat. I would get a Venom Shock, actually. Realistically, I think the Sub-Zero is the best big ball Motive's ever made. Mark my words, it is pretty good. I'm sorry for missing the Evoke. Do you think it'd be a good two-hander ball? I've hardly seen any go down the lanes. Yeah, the Evoke would be an amazing two-hander ball. So, yeah. What's the difference between the GB5 and the GB4? I think the GB4 was actually a hybrid. I know, their GB4 was a Pearl, maybe. I don't think there was a GB4 solid. I could be wrong. Yeah, GB4 Pearl, GB4 Hybrid. They didn't have a GB4 solid, I don't believe. Oh, no, Game Breaker 4 is a solid reactive. Oh, yes, the red one. Oh, I remember now. Okay. It looks like the cover on the GB5, the GB4 had GB 12.0 solid, and the GB5 has 12.7 solid. So the GB5 is just a stronger version of the GB4. I'm not seeing the Pure Madness or am I blind? No, you're not seeing it because it's already discontinued. So I took it off the list. How would it be going from Summit Ascent to Phase AI? Not as big of a gap as you'd think because the Phase AI is very clean. Some of the pyramid balls are okay. Like I remember a buddy of mine, Anthony Lockwood, that used to do the beer frames with me. He got a Blueprint Pearl, and that thing was filthy. How close to the Evoke and the Sub-Zero? The Evoke, I think, is actually like the Sub-Zero is earlier, I think, than the Evoke, but the Evoke has more torque. It's a little faster down lane. What would be a good ball down from the Phase AI and the SPI brands? The Summit Ascent, I think it'd be a really good ball down. Do you think a new Zen would come out this year? The Zen Reloaded has supposed to have been a stateside ball, and it was on people's radars like 6 months ago. So I have no idea what happened to the Zen Reloaded. Do you think the track Cypher can mimic urethane like a pitch black? No. Nope. Nope. The Rattler New would be a whole lot closer. I was finally able to get alive with this guy. GB5 solid with the GB4 solid should have been. Yeah, the GB5 is nice. Ridiculous. Poor Pure Madness killed by shelf appeal. Yeah, I think the same thing's going to happen with the Crusher. Nobody's going to buy a Crusher. Sorry. And it's actually a pretty decent ball. I think it's better than Pure Madness. It rolls like the Pure Madness, it's just a little cleaner and faster, so I think that makes it a little bit more versatile. The Crusher just kind of did one thing. It was the Pure Madness just did one thing. It was very good at that one thing, but it did one thing. Lefty here needing a ball down from an IQ Tornado Pearl, thinking of just getting another high road. Yeah, no, I'd get another high road. That's the best thing that I tell people. It's like if they're looking for a replacement for a ball that's still in production, just get that same ball. Don't even mess with it. If you had that ball and you liked it, just get another one. Anyway, back to the list. This is the Jackal Fury, I think. The shiny one. No, that's the Raptor Fury. It's a Crimson Jackal. There was no Jackal Fury. There's a Raptor Fury. Modi doesn't send me stuff, so I don't know. All right, so Crimson Jackal. This is one of the kind of in the Atlas hybrid intense mindset, harsh reality territory. I'm just going to stick it right there. I don't know if that's where it belongs or not. The thrills, I think, are going to be, and let me, I just had the side up. What are the numbers? These are actually pretty strong. So these need to go, these are like Arctic vibe territory. 255,037. They're weaker on paper than they actually are. So the thrills are actually going to end the max thrills. These are like Arctic vibe territory. Back to the damn website. Pride Liberty. Is this the Mile A sim? Yes, 250,042,010. The Pride line is interesting. I like the Pride line. I think that the Pride Liberty is still even weaker than the Sub-Zero. Even though the Sub-Zero is symmetric, I think it's stronger than Pride Liberty. I think the Liberty is a little bit more than the Hazmat Solid. But yeah. Yeah, my PSO refuses to drill swag as it causes sparks. I've got one of the regional managers for swag is a buddy of mine, Paul Burnett. And he says that they got that squared away and they don't do that anymore. So I trust him. I take him at his word. So he says that they don't do that anymore. So just putting that out there. Raptor Rush balls. Raptor Rush. I have seen some of these, and very strong shiny symmetric ball. This would actually, I think, compete with the No Doubt for the strongest shiny symmetric ball on the market. I have seen it, I have not thrown it, but I would have a ton of doubt that it would be stronger than the No Doubt. So I don't know whether that's the case. I'd like to get one and compare. I think it would be awful close, but the No Doubt is the strongest shiny symmetric ball I've ever thrown. So yeah, Spark, like Dara said, Sparks, was this the original stuff, not the new stuff? Yeah, Paul said that they got that fixed. So yeah, just drilled a dynamite blaze for somebody and no sparks. So yeah, I think we can. It's kind of like the Reactogloss thing for Storm. It still is not a good polish, but it doesn't slime up. It doesn't prevent the balls absorbing oil anymore. So it's, if you like super shiny stuff and you need super shiny stuff, Reactogloss is just fine now. I think it's the same way with the swag cores. I don't think they spark anymore. The Raptor Gold Rush, yeah, they missed an opportunity there. Chisholm, no, they were waiting on him. Y'all got to do some stuff here. I got $5 whole on this game. Supra. Crap. I had the damn website up. I'm just going to leave it up while I'm looking at these motive balls that I don't really know what's going on with. The Super GT, it's supposed to be thrill territory. 257.040. It's basically high road territory. So the max thrills are kind of in the, I think from what I've seen, the Super GT is basically on top of them. Like, I don't really think it's a whole lot different. I think the GT's a little stronger, but they're all very close. The EJX Venom, this was a special edition, but it did come out this year, so we're going to put it on there anyway. This one is not quite chill strong, but it's stronger than the Messenger Power Core. And then the Hyper Venom, I think, is under the Messenger, very similar to the Messenger. Definitely stronger than the Ion or the Summit Ascent, even though the numbers are more in IQ territory. I threw the Hyper Venom. I threw the Hyper Venom and the Ion Pro. The Ion Pro is the one that, if I haven't said before, that's the one that's the 2024 SPI ball that I drilled. I hated the Hyper Venom, but it actually hooked, at least. The Ion Pro did not. Outer Limits Pearl, one of the stronger pearl balls out there, or one of the stronger ASIM pearls shiny out there. I think it's stronger than, it's not one reverb strong. It's stronger than the Atlas for me, not as quite as strong as the Pure. I did get the Optimum Idol Pearl here on the list. It's one of the, it's going to go, I don't think it's Raptor Rush strong, but it's stronger than the Nuke. Super Cuda is under the Venom EJX, but is still stronger than the it's pretty close to the Messenger Power Core. It's pretty close. The Messenger is a little faster. Super Cuda is a little smoother. I think the Super is a little stronger. Phase AI is not as strong as it's supposed to. Well, once you knock Power Edge is a good finish. It just comes way too damn glossy. I think once you actually get a decent surface on it, I don't think it's Venom EJX strong, but I think that's about where it lives. It's not as strong as Brunswick's stuff, like the Chill Pearl, or the Chill Pearl, Chill Hybrid, where the crap it is. Stealth Hybrid, Stealth Pearl, the Ethos Hybrid. I don't think it's that strong, but it is stronger than something like a Messenger, like the Messenger Power Core Pearl. Red Ball, I don't even want to put it on the list, but it's just going to go down there. Not very good. If you're not tied to a brand, there's a whole lot better urethane balls out there for you to get. Ion Pro rolls well, plenty strong. It just needs too much friction. I have never seen a worse ball on our testing pattern. It goes 80 feet. It just sniffs any kind of oil and it skates for days. It's pretty decent on the house shot. It hooks on the house shot when there's plenty of friction. So I would not, if you've got plenty of friction, it's going to hook. It just is not really that strong comparatively to most stuff. Would you consider the Outer Limits Pearl a sleeper? They love it here in the DMV. Yes, the Outer Limits Pearl is, I think it's purple and it says Radical on it. It's just nothing really exciting or that stands out on the shelf. But I think it's a sleeper pick. It's a really good one that I just don't think anybody's buying. And I kind of expected that when it came out, but it was a good ball. Any tips on getting more of a roll on the ball rather than spinning it? There's a lot of really good tutorials on YouTube. Brad and Kyle have put out several good videos on this. So I would get on YouTube and find some tutorial videos. There are a lot of good ones out there. Would you say the Crusher and Outer Limits Pearl are good 1-2 combo? I think they're a little too close. Like if they were at the same surface, they'd be awfully similar. I think the Outer Limits Pearl is a little too close to it. The red ball gets flamed here, and I was just flaming my son for buying it. I actually drilled a second one with a 5-inch pin, and I have not thrown it yet, but I wanted to. I think it's going to have its place. Like if you can just fire it down the rail, it's really good, but it is a super one-trick pony. Super one-trick. Yeah, original Outer Limits was really good too. It's just Radical doesn't do well here. Yeah, Radical's one of those niche kind of lines that they put out better stuff than I've never been a fan of their marketing. And I think that's marketing it's the bane of existence because you got to have good marketing to really get eyeballs on stuff because you can make really good stuff, but if nobody's interested in it, it doesn't matter. But there is a line there. You can go too far with it. So, all right, let's finish putting balls on lists here. Rattler Big Bite is a very strong. Yeah, Rattler Big Bite's pretty strong. It's one of the strong. So, yeah, it's going to be at the very top of like it's sanded, but it's not like uber strong. I don't think it's as strong as I think it goes right here. I don't think it's as strong like the Optimum, even though they're shiny. The Optimum, the Raptor Rush, and the No Doubt are stronger than the Big Bite, but the Big Bite's pretty strong. Rattler New is that's a weird one because it's kind of urethane-y, but it's kind of not. I think I've got to put it at the top of I don't know. This one's really hard. It's really tough. I'll put it there because it's pseudo urethane. So Radical Conspiracy, I think, is there. It's not quite Criterion strong, but those two are awfully close. I think the Radical Conspiracy is a little faster. Criterion, I think, is a little earlier. Optimum Idol is about as strong as it's not GB5 strong. It's not Sub-Zero strong, but it's definitely stronger than the Pride or the Hazmat. Stealth Hybrid is going to be it's stronger than the no, it's right. It's so right on top. It's very hard to rank. Scorpion Strike is one of the picks of the year. I think it's strong. I think it goes right there. If you're looking at a Phase AI, just get a Scorpion Strike and save like $30 or $40. Scorpion Strike's really good. Sublime Focus is really interesting. That one's difficult to rank. I think it is. It's right. It's the same cover as the Optimum, same virtual whatever. So I'm just going to put it right there. Summit Peak is sneaky strong. It's clean. I mean, it's a storm cover, so I'm going to put it. You know, it is strong. It is definitely stronger than the Phase AI. It's nuclear forge territory. They're virtually the same ball. Very strikingly similar. Hitter Pearl. Do you want to talk about a ball that's getting slept on? Like, I didn't drill this one, and I'm kind of jealous, and so I'm probably going to have to. I don't go out of my way to put holes in virtually anything because I already have so much stuff laying around. The Hitter Pearl is one I really want. This one is I think it's special. I don't say that stuff is special much. It's stronger than the Attention Star. It's not quite as strong as the DNA Coil, not as strong as the Mantra. That's a pretty good spot for it. It's a UFO alert is exactly what it rolls like. I want one so bad. It's stronger than the Attention Star, but that's kind of the terror. It's a cleaner shiny ASIM. But it's not quite as far down. It's all over Attention Star territory because the Attention Star is a little bit stronger than it says it is on paper. The Hitter's just a UFO alert replacement. It's amazing. Does all kinds of things. Go watch that review. Oh, well, no, you've got to go back to, there was like 15 of them. That's why I said you had to go back to like 750.
I don't have time.
Huh?
I don't have timestamps.
You don't have timestamps? Oh. Oh, you're not gonna. Well, you got on too late, so you're not gonna see. You're only gonna see the.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm getting on now.
Well, yeah, that was after everybody had said stuff, so it was like. Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully the ones that are still here will comment again.
Yeah, comment again if you're interested in the Genesis packages. Comment again. We've already given 2 away, and sorry, I saw some earlier. Angel's chat started when she signed in, so the one that I've got, let's see, Bowling with Brent said something. Okie Doke 22 said something. Taylor Devon said something. Ninton Drew said something. Felix, Eric Knudsen, or Knudsen, probably. It could be. Who the are the Knudsens?
Okay, well, people are commenting again, so.
Slapstick, Eric K, Judd Weber, D-Sides.
I'm going to remember these people.
Okay.
Just
all right, well,
sorry,
y'all. We've got her on the list. Okay. 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 Lazy Lion, we got Genesis packages to give away. Let me do this again. I will put it back. Hyper Rev tape, Pure Pad HD, K Motion precut, sample packs of Excel, Protects tape, sample pack of Sync, trophy ball cup, and a hard rosin. All right, let's finish putting balls on list. The Road is a very interesting one. I think it's stronger than. Well, no, I don't know. It's right next to the Lightning Black. It's a little stronger than the Blackout, but not that much stronger. Tundra Blue Fire, I think, is under the Rhino Pro. And actually, I would think the BRY would be under both of those, even though it's not supposed to be. What are you doing, Buck? Actually, no, it's I don't know. Yeah. Ultimate Defender. This is like a sanded mantra, kind of, but I mean it's slower. Or like a sanded Beyond Infinity. I think it's a little. Well, no, it's in. Gosh, it's right on top. It's all over the mantra. It's earlier and smoother than the mantra. I think it goes right there. The Hater's a little stronger, I think. No, it's actually above the Beyond. It's basically a sanded Beyond, really. So I'll put it right there. Archetype Hybrid. This one is big. Where's the shiny stuff? Okay, so the Archetype Hybrid is not... Okay, I'm going to have to... Okay, I can't take it all the way up. We've got too much stuff on the... It's not Hammer Effect strong, but it's stronger than the one reverb. Archetype Hybrid's a monster. Very big, strong. Very strong, also really dynamic, too. The Genesis car package, I'm down. Yeah. Heard a rumor from a swag staffer that Bowler's Mart bought the swag brand. Got any info on that? I have also heard that. I have no info, but I have heard that. Vaporize, also very strong shiny ball. Not quite as strong as the... Well, it's actually kind of clean-ish, too. I think it's in... It's not quite as strong as the Pure. It's in Intense Mind. It's not Outer Limits Pearl strong, but it's stronger than the Atlas Hybrid or the Intense Mindset by a little bit. Wicked Collision. It's basically a one reverb. It's a DV8 one reverb. It's not quite as clean and fast. It is a little stronger. And this is the thing. The box surface is what knocks it down. Angel Sanded looks ridiculous. They should have put this thing out at like 2000 grit because it's amazing with surface on it. But out of the box with the shine on it, it's a little stronger than the reverb. It's a little earlier and slower. The reaction shapes are pretty close, but it's not Archetype Hybrid or Hammer Effect strong. Okay, yes, that's true concerning swag. Okay, so Bowler's Mart bought swag then. That's interesting. They're a family that lives on the farm outside of Moorhead, Minnesota. Excel. It is in absolute power territory. I think it's stronger. It is kind of strong. So it's stronger than the Hitter. It's not quite as strong as the DNA coil, but Excel is... It's up. Well, it's more Black Widow 3. It's not quite as strong as the 3.0. I think it is actually stronger. Well, no, the coverage just not that strong, but it is stronger than the Hitter for sure. Exponent Pearl, which is really funny. The Exponent Pearl is basically a messenger power core, but it's storm covers a little weaker than Brunswick covers in general. Zigzag is interesting. I think it's under the Radical Conspiracy, but no, the Harsh Reality is stronger. The Zigzag is not a weak, it's a stronger... Well, no, it's not as strong as the Wicked. Even out of the box. No, it's in Evoke territory, actually. It's not as strong as the Crusher. I don't think it's as strong as the Pure. Okay, we'll put it under the Pure. The Zigzag and Pure are awful similar. It's just the Zigzag's a little earlier and smoother. And then the Ethos Hybrid is the last one we got to rank. I think it's... I see the spot for it right there. It's not as strong as the Optimum Idol, but it's stronger than the Rattler Big Bite. So, would you say the Ion Pro is a step down from the Attention? On paper, it's not, but on the lane, absolutely. On the lane, absolutely. Yeah, similar shape. The Attention's a little more archy. The Ion Pro's very round shaping. But yeah, the Ion Pro cover is supposed to be stronger than the Attention Star cover. It's just not. It's just not. Oh, you're in Europe, so I don't think I do not know that they would ship to Europe. That's tricky, and sorry about that. That's just tricky with international shipping. It just... Lazy Lion. It just costs so damn much. Whenever I give away Cool Wick stuff, and that's what we'll do for our doggo fundraiser that's coming up here in about a month and a half. I'm going to start.
I'm still finishing the packages.
Oh, I missed the XL. It's weaker than the DNA coil, but it's above the hitter. And it's a little bit stronger than, it's like a solid attention star, kind of. But it's E-Trax plus solid, I think. So it's an absolute power level. It's stronger than the absolute power, but it's kind of like a medium cover strength, strong asymmetric core. When you do these concepts, are you using just your data or all the bowlers in your group's data to get these lists? This is where I would put them. And I've thrown a lot of these, or it's very hard because getting data on core strengths, you can rank those all by numbers, but the cover strengths are difficult. And so you have to just know the general cover strengths of things. And so this is a lot of, if somebody else was ranking these, like I think Charles Hutcherson from the Hype has thrown literally every single one of these balls. He might rank them differently, but he bowls in different places. This is a lot of from my experience, from my testers' experience, from watching all of these, from seeing other bowlers throwing them, seeing where they're using them, what they're using them on, what I know about the company covers in general. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and ball reaction doesn't happen on paper. And so that's what makes arsenal building so difficult, is that you have to know not just the stuff on paper, but you have to know how things kind of fit together. And it's very difficult even for somebody that is in this full time. And so even though you see something like an intense mindset that's long and flippy, that's asymmetric, and that's technically stronger than a Sub-Zero forge, a Sub-Zero forge may be stronger than an intense mindset, depending on what you're needing. If you're needing stronger front to back, the Sub-Zero absolutely is on top of the list. But if you need something that covers a lot more boards down lane, the intense mindset's going to run laps around the Sub-Zero. So that's one of those things that makes this extremely difficult. Uh-oh. Another ball down in the corner for another Guardian. They need to start scoring some runs here. The Yankee tanks need to get going. Where would you put the Ocean Vibe? The Ocean Vibe would be... it's stronger than the Kaboom. I'd probably put it under the Max Thrills and the Super GT and above the Kaboom. Probably where I'd put it. Now, looking at this, yeah, I think I like where everything's at. So let's finally, now that I've got all these on here, let's get to actually talking about things. My first ball was an Exponent Solid. I had it plug and re-drilled to find my style. What ball would replace it since it's discontinued? That's a tough one to replace, because on paper, you're not going to find anything that's on paper. I would say a Summit Ascent or a Hustle X-Ray. It's going to be in between those. Those are difficult to figure out. Not a fan of how companies make it so difficult to figure out covers. I like the idea of throwing different brands, but it's harder to build it in Arsenal cross brands. It is, and so that's the real challenge, is knowing what the different companies' tendencies and characteristics are. And now that and it's even hard, I've thrown most of the Brunswick stuff on the list this year, and I've seen my other testers. Of course, I haven't thrown much, if any, of the Storm stuff, but I've seen it all. And can get a pretty good idea from seeing other people using it and other people using different things. And it's a marketing thing. And even though, and this is the tough thing about marketing, is that people want new and different, but they also want the same too. As soon as you give them new and different, they don't understand what it is and they fall back into their comfort zone. But if you give them too much of what they want, then they get bored. And so you got to find a way to give them new and different while still sprinkling in some of the same or making it familiar. But people are also, they're on the same thing where it's like, oh my God, Storm's been using R2S for 20 years. It's like, well, people see R2S on a ball. They know what that means. They know that it's medium strength, and they're going to get, it's like, oh, okay, well, I that covered, I've had that cover on a bunch of balls. And so I know what that is. So people complain about the same things that they also like. And so if you give them something new or different, it's like, okay, well, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. And so it's hard for people to get on top of stuff. Okay, yeah, the Tank Rampage Pearl between the Black Camera and IQ. So, okay, yeah, we can do that. Most or all the covers you use across. Yes, and that's the thing. Oh, okay. Angel's spinning stuff. Okay, so.
Can you tag them in the chat?
I'll tell. We got another run for the Guardians. Okay, Angel put all the people in, and so the next Genesis giveaway is Big B62. So we're not picking. We're not picking for these. She's actually spinning for them. She put all the names that everybody put in there. So Big B62, put your name in the chat, please, and then send me a message on Facebook to my regular account, not Luke Rosedall Bowling. Send it to my actual account.
And I'll delete his name, and I'm going to see if anybody else has it, and I'll spin again.
Okay, Angel's going to delete that name and reshuffle now. So
if anyone else didn't comment and wants in.
Yeah, so yeah, Big B62, you just put a comment in there. If you put your name in the chat, or if you put your name in the comments, so I know who is going to be sending me a message later, so I can verify it that way, instead of somebody saying, oh yes, I'm Big B62. Yeah, so how would this is the real trick. How would a layman bowler figure out what ball they should be looking to buy or approach building a simple league bag? That's part of why I'm doing this, is because it's extremely, insanely difficult. I had said this earlier. Generally, Storm has the cleanest and weakest stuff, unless it's NRG/microtracks. And that's the other thing that makes it really tricky. Like Glenn said, most or all the covers are used across the brands. They're just named differently. Yes, because Storm's NRG is Rotogrip's Microtracks, and it's also now Global's Reserve Blends 80, whatever the crap's on the Sublime Focus. That's also NRG, but it's different names across the 3 different brands that have their own different marketing, and that's what makes it difficult. Oh, yep. All right, Brian, send me a message to Facebook with your address, and we'll get you on the list. Mr. Stabby, oh, you got them all. Okay,
yeah,
Angel's keeping track.
Yep.
Need to take my TDX back to around what it was at box finish. It says it was 2,000 out of the box, but it felt super chalky. What should I hit it with? 1,000 grit. If it was super chalky out of the box, hit it with 1,000. It looks really good with surface on it, and it turns into a marble. I have it easy. I throw 13 pounds, so my choice is pretty limited. Motive all the way. That does make sense. Stephanie wants to be added to 804 on the Sublime Focus. That's NRG/microtracks. The SPI website has a cover strength chart, but it doesn't cover all 3 brands. And the Rotogrip, the last Rotogrip one I saw, was wrong, because it just lists the covers in terms of recency. So within like it ranks them, like VTC is the weakest, and then there's E-Trax Plus, Optitrax, Microtracks. But the different versions of the covers, like they have Microtracks like 18, 19, 20, and then basic, and then just standard Microtracks is at the top because it's the most recent. But all the 20 versions of the cover stocks were ridiculously strong. VTC 20 is stronger than like E-Trax Plus. VTC 20 was just monstrously strong. Like the Hustle PBR would outhook a clone. It was insane. But they have current VTC over VTC 20, which is just absolutely wrong. So that's also what makes it tricky. Motive does have the best chart for their covers. This is an argument for sticking with one company, but there's so much good stuff out there that I would have a hard time sticking to one company. Like, I have some Motive stuff, I have some Brunswick stuff. I don't throw as much of the Storm stuff anymore because it's just too clean for me to use. The Summit is still like my favorite ball ever. I think it's even eclipsing the ProMotion by now. I don't throw it a whole lot recently, but I'm never going to go anywhere without it, except Tulsa this weekend because it's way too strong for that nonsense. I threw it at a really tough tournament about a month ago. The Summit is just going to go most places with me because it's my blankie. It's like I'm a 3-year-old and it's my binky or whatever, or it's my stuffed animal, my stuffed bear, whatever. The Summit's just absolutely going everywhere unless it's Tulsa and I know it's not going to be in play. Love Motive, but it has holes in the lineup. That's the thing, is that if you stick within a brand, like if you go to like B7 stuff, there's overlap all over the place because certain people are like, okay, well, I can't, and this is what really drives me up a wall when people are just brand specific or company specific within a larger brand, or I guess brand would be inside of the company. The company would be Brunswick and the brand would be like Track, Hammer, whatever else. You have some Hammer people that would never throw anything else, but it's like, man, if you a Zigzag and a Black Widow 3.0 are really close, which is interesting that I have the Zigzag so much higher than the 3.0. I might have to bump the 3.0 up because I think it is stronger than the Vaporize. I think I'm going to do that. It is. Yeah. I think I misplaced that. It is kind of strong. Motive and B7 mix well. They do, because Motive and B7's covers, I think, are similar strengths, so it's easier to track. It's just the Motive stuff is earlier and smoother. And so I think SPI is the harder one to integrate with the other companies because their covers are so much cleaner outside of, again, Microtrax. Microtrax and NRG kind of fit with the other companies pretty well. That's the one cover that Storm Roto Global has going for them that does kind of fit in easier with the other company's stuff. Yeah, I can't keep track of the B7 stuff. Too many balls to figure out. And yeah, I can't even keep track of them. And I'll just tell you all this right now. I'm not doing all 7 companies next year. I'm just doing Brunswick, Track, and Hammer. So I'm going to finish out the year doing all the brands. But next year, I was actually just not going to do any of them, and they said, "Well, can you still do a couple of them?" I'm like, "Well, I can do like 2 balls a month. Like 5 or 6 balls is just too much because, again, I've got the 2. We've got the random stuff that we're going to have in there throughout the year. I do 2 reviews for every Storm ball or every SPI ball now, and it's just I'm making 10 reviews a month, and I just can't keep up with it. It's just too much." Shocked to see the Chill Pearl up in 3. Would have thought it was more similar to the Fireball PG. No, it's a stronger symmetric. Let me see. 8 bowling. It's kind of like a Marvel Pearl, but it is stronger than the other ones. I think it's 249.051, so it's a stronger symmetric ball. But this is what makes it so tricky, is that I'm sure that other people would rank these different ways, This is why we put everything on chromium, so I can tell what the actual strengths are. I find it hard to trust when people are doing reviews on a house shot, which house shots are what people bowl on, but it's hard. But there's a lot of people that say, okay, well, I thought that this was a strong ball, and then they take it to nationals and it doesn't wrinkle. It's like, well, weaker balls seem really strong on house shots because they're designed to not hook very much in the oil, but they'll hook a crap load on dry. They're meant to act like stronger balls. Like stronger balls, the way that stronger balls act in heavier oil, weaker balls are designed to act like that on less oil. And so if you give weaker balls available friction, they're going to hook a bunch. And the stronger balls aren't going to, because they hook through the oil, they see the lane more consistently. They're not going to be as dynamic on drier lanes, and actually they can be a little bit too much. It'd be like, you wouldn't technically, snow tires are grippier than racing slicks, but on asphalt, there's no way you're going to put snow tires on a stock car.
Okay, nobody else.
So, yeah. Okay. Angel spun again. Slapstick.
And that's number 5.
Huh?
That's number 5.
I've only done 4.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Sorry. I wrote 5 lines, but I...
Oh, okay. Slapstick, if you're still in here. Yep, I'm not going to... We're going to be on chromium. As long as I'm doing reviews, that's what we're going to be on, because it's just perfectly right in the middle. It shows us how strong the balls actually are, but it's not too heavy for the weaker stuff, but it's not too dry for the stronger stuff. So yeah, Slapstick, put your real name in the comments or in the chat, and then send me a message. Derek W, I'll message you. Cool. Yep. Big B, I did get your message. I saw it come through.
Okay, so that's 4. I got 1 more. I'll keep watching, just in case I missed anybody.
Does Summit Peak fall in the realm of benchmark balls? Kinda. It's interesting because it acts like it wants to be clean and sharp, but it's kind of strong. It's one of those sneaky strong balls. All right, we got a base runner for the Yankees. Is that Soto? Anyway. Okay, yep. Everything looked good on the house shot, and weaker balls look too close to stronger balls. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. we were just talking the other day, I think.
Is that our Discord, Derek?
Derek Wands.
Oh.
Not Wozniak.
Okay.
Nope, not Wozniak.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that you do reviews on chromium as the pattern my team uses. Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah. Charles and a couple of the other guys. Charles does use chromium now, and it's completely, you can see it's just night and day different from what he, like everything used to just hook and fly off the planet. Now he can roll everything. Everything's quite a bit cleaner. So I think it displays the differences between the balls much more accurately than throwing them on a house shot. Would you do a tier list for benchmark balls? That's kind of good and bad is like subjective. That's one of those things where it's easier to rate them on strength or how often you're going to use them on tougher conditions. Like quality for benchmark balls, quality is tough because it's all subjective. Like the hammer effect, a lot of people have said is like the ball of the year period, and mine was awful. One of the worst bowler to ball matchups I've ever had, but it's magic for everybody else. And so when it comes to quality, that's why I try to keep opinion out of my reviews as much as possible, unless it's something like a Scorpion Strike. Other balls in that category are going to have trouble competing with what it can do because it's extremely versatile. It can reach up really high. It can reach down low. It's good on easier stuff. It's good as a transition ball on tougher stuff. It's hard for other balls to kind of catch up to that. So I guess it is somewhat subjective, but it's kind of not like a quality thing. It's more like I could rank them on versatility. But as far as the Scorpion Strike, It may look like dog water for some people, though. So that's the thing, is that getting down to this, or trying to explain arsenal building as a whole. So let's start at the top here. You may never throw anything like Mesmerize is going to be way too strong for most people out there, I would say, on most of what they bowl on. It looks really good for Angel, though. She throws really strong stuff. And so she's just not, even though she does have the Ivory Rhino Pro, it has to be super chalky for her to ever consider using it, because the lane conditions are just not going to get dry enough for that. Like, she throws the Mesmerize and the one reverb in league, and most people are not going to be able to do that. You need very high speed, a very low rev rate, or a combination of the two to have those be like your top balls in the bag. So you have to look at the type of balls that you generally use. You also have to hope that whoever you watch for reviews, and I would recommend definitely watching more people than just me, because you want the differing opinions, and especially from different games. You want to see how stuff reacts on a house shot versus something like on Chromium, so that you have a better overall, more well-rounded idea of what something actually acts right, or what something actually acts like. So you've got to figure out, number one, what type of balls generally fit best for you. If I'm building a list based on this, I know what shapes. Judge hit one to short. Are they going to get two? Yeah, he's slow. Dagnabbit. So if I'm building an arsenal from the balls on this list, I typically use stronger, shiny stuff. But I'm not going to be able, like, I haven't thrown I like the Pure Envy, but I haven't thrown it because it's too much. The Criterion, I've taken it to league, but it's just going to be too much for league. I like the archy stuff as long as it's continuous. Like the hammer effect wants to be kind of directional to forward. And it was too strong. I had to get up the back of it to get it down the lane, and then it just went straight off the end of the pattern. So Archetype Hybrid, I really like that ball. It was just way too strong. The Evoke's too strong for me to throw in league. It's also too smooth. The Outer Limits Pearl was too strong for me to throw. The Black Widow 3.0 was the right friction response, but it was just too strong. I just never could. I probably could now. I think back when I had drilled it originally, it was too strong. It would just always be, if I got it down the lane, it was flat. And if I threw it decent, it would always be it would just sneak up a little too high. The Vibo came out last year. So most of the stuff that I'm rating is this year's stuff, and there's already too much stuff on the list, but I'm just trying to keep it to 2024 and newer.
Ready for the final one more?
Yeah, let's do the final one.
Okay, nobody else commented, so I spun.
Revs on the left. Revs on the left. Please give us your definition of strong. Strong is actual traction. Something that's flippy isn't strong, because there's balls that you can look all the way down low on this list and find something flip. Like the Endeavor is flippy, but it's not. It's flippy. It's very sharp. It's very responsive, very fast on the back end. It is not strong, though. It is a medium strength ball that is just very, very fast. So strong, people unfortunately use strong as back end. They think strong means it moves sharper on the back end, which that's not strong. Strong is like actual traction. Oh, we hit one out. Giancarlo. Yeah, buddy, there we go. Man, he's got 5 home runs in the postseason. Yeah. Stanton. I've always liked Stanton. Glad to see he's after having his face shattered. Glad to see he's getting his flowers here. So yeah, strong is then starts early on the lane or hooks. Strong is in traction overall. Like the Mesmerize is a pretty sharp ball for how strong it is, but it's also insanely just strong. It hooks early. It hooks a lot through the oil. But the problem is it's hard to speak in terms because people have the terms mixed up. If I say something hooks, people think that that means it back ends. And that's not it. It means it has actual traction. It gets dig. It actually chews through the oil. It's like a Sub-Zero Forge is a very strong ball. It's not fast whatsoever. It's very slow, but as far as traction and actual hook is traction. Hook is not back end. So the Sub-Zero Forge is a very strong hooking ball, but it's not a very sharp or responsive ball.
Revs on the left to put his name.
Okay, Revs on the left. I need you to get in and put your name in the chat. Revs on the left, if you're still here, you need to put your name in the chat and send me a message on Facebook. Otherwise, you'll have to draw again. Oh yeah, don't worry about the Vibo thing. It wasn't spelled out at all. So if I'm building something for myself, I would probably put the Evoke at the top of the bag for me. That because it's strong, it has a lot of traction, it has actual dig, but it's smooth enough for me to be able to throw it. Stuff that is both strong and responsive, like the Radical Conspiracy, my gosh, I really like it. I like the Criterion too. It's going to be too much traction, too much actual hook, and too much back end for me to throw it. So it's going to both hook a lot and respond a lot, or be faster on the back end. And so I think it's in Radical Conspiracy territory where it's just too much for me most of the time. And on the left side of the lane, like I took the max bias to nationals and it was just too strong, but it is also one that I would consider putting at the top of the bag because it's very strong, but it's also very smooth and controllable. That's something that you need on the left side of the lane. So I would put the max bias or the Evoke at the top of the bag because a lot of this other stuff, if I might actually do an Ion Max too, because I think it's in that territory of it's strong, but it's controllable enough to where I could probably use one of those lefty too. And I think the shape would work for me. But in general, I like rounder shapes fit my game the best. So I think out of all of these, I could use the max bias. I could use the Ion Max. I could use a Zigzag Solid. I could use a Black Widow 3.0, but the Evoke is a rounder shape, and that fits my game the best. So I would use something like an Evoke, a Vaporize, even though I do really like the Intense Mindset. I would start with an Evoke. A Vaporize would be a cleaner ball down from that. The Hitter would be an even cleaner ball down from that if I want to stay asymmetric. GB5 rolled really well for me. I think an Optimum Idol would roll really well. The No Doubt, so far, I haven't thrown it a lot. It's a little too flippy. But that's a ball that I am going to get some use out of. Now, by contrast, again, the Hammer Effect is more forward rolling. For me, who already kind of gets up the back of it a little bit, it is a strong hooking and very strong responding ball. But I have to get around it to get it to go through the pins the right way. But if I get around it, it's just not making it down the lane and staying on the correct side of the head pin unless I'm playing like fourth or fifth arrow, which is just ridiculous. So,
Did Revs on the left send you a Facebook message? He put his name in there.
Oh well, as long as he put his name in there, we'll get to the where is it? I don't see. Maurice. Okay. Revs on the left side. Yeah. So, Maurice, send me a message on Facebook with your address and send it to my personal page, not my bowling page. So for you have to take what you need to do is you need to think number one about the general strengths of balls that you use. Do you successfully use something mesmerized strong? What balls on this list do you have? Where are they at? And then think about the different shapes that these balls have. Like the Evoke is rounder shaping, the Vaporize is rounder shaping, the Hitter is rounder shaping, the GB5, the Optimum Idol, No Doubt, Raptor Rush, Optimum Idol Pearl, Ethos, Stealth Hybrid, Messenger Power Core to a certain extent. The Ion Pro is a rounder shape. The Summit Ascent's a rounder shape. I really did like the Cypher, but it was just too much of it was kind of a hockey stick kind of hook set, and it was also a little too clean. The core didn't really roll strongly enough. That's the other thing that you got to think about too, is what core strengths do you generally use? Think back, look at the numbers of balls. It's like, okay, so I don't throw on the left side. I don't really get much use out of higher RG stuff. I don't throw a whole lot of stuff that's much over 250. So I'm going to be looking for core numbers in a general zone, just like I'm going to be looking at the reaction shapes. Some people like the hook set stuff. Some people naturally get around the ball more, so they need stuff that's more forward, like a hammer effect. That's going to kind of, because stuff that's too continuous on somebody that gets around the ball, it can just like cut through the pins. If the stuff's more forward off the end of the pattern, it's going to balance that out. And so instead of just driving through the pins, it's going to kind of straighten out a little bit and go through the pins the right way. So if you get around the ball too much, sometimes that just is a very weird, it's too steep, or there's too much angle going through the pins and you don't get the ball to carry right. So you need stuff that kind of hook sets or that's a little bit more forward. But people that get up the back of the ball need stuff that's a little bit more continuous, so that it's just not hook stop or hook puke or whatever else. So you have to learn what kind of balls. So you have to learn what kind of balls fit your game the best to start off with. Do you typically throw asymmetric stuff or symmetric stuff more often? If it's a mix of the two, are they similar shaping? Do you throw something like an Evoke? Do you find yourself drawn to stuff like, and this is something you can watch review videos and be drawn to stuff without really knowing why you're drawn. It's like, that just fits my eye. That just looks good to me, without really knowing why. So what you need to do is you need to actually figure out why. If you look at this list and you've got, let me see, if you like more archy balls, just say that you look at something like the Max Bias and you like that, or you look at something like the Wicked Collision, the One Reverb, the Black Widow 3.0, Atlas Hybrid, the Hater DNA Coil, Absolute Power. That stuff's more archy, Hazmat Solid. So if you find yourself drawn more to that, then you probably will find very similar shapes within your arsenal. Maybe you like more tumbly stuff. So some of the tumbly stuff on the list would be like the Ion Max, the Crusher, the Ultimate Defender, the Beyond Infinity, the Pride Liberty, Nuclear Forge, the Phase AI, Exponent Pearl. That stuff's all a little bit more tumbly. So Summit Peak is pretty tumbly. And try not to get lost in the definitions are just think of a rock tumbling down a hill. It's not quite a rounder shaping IQ Tour type of shape. It's not an archy shape like a Hazmat Solid. It's a little archy. It doesn't really rev up that much. It just kind of looks like a rock tumbling down a hill, so to speak. I throw 14 to 15 miles an hour with 450 RPM using the tiers. Which tiers would match up better for those stats with typical house shot? I probably wouldn't get any higher than the very low 2 stuff. I wouldn't throw asymmetric stuff because that's higher RPMs and kind of slower speed. So if you want like a strong ball, I would do the GB5 or like the Optimum Idol Sub-Zero actually might be something that's strong but be really controllable. So the Sub-Zero might be your like strong ball. That might be your strong ball, and you might dip down into something like an Ethos Hybrid, the Messenger Power Core Pearl. I think would be a good one. The Super CUDA, you might really like the Super CUDA because it's pretty smooth. Yeah, the problem is finding that first ball that works for you, and that's bowling is, especially the equipment, there's so much of it and it's so complicated. Even somebody like me that just does it for a full-time job, it's hard to keep up with and it's hard to explain. And I understand how frustrating it can be to people that they're just like, I just want to buy a couple balls for league that kind of fit together, man. Like I don't understand this, that, and the other, and this additive and that additive, and I don't know what SH 4.0 stands for. I don't know what cohesion means. I don't know what HK22 means. I don't know what any of this crap actually means. Unfortunately, it's also very experience based. It's very, so just because I can pick a lineup out of here of balls that would fit well for me, those balls could all be terrible for you. Rounder shapes could really just, you might need more angular shapes. You might need more dynamic shapes. Where I would pick an Evoke, you might need something like a Criterion that's a little bit more defined on the back end. You might actually go for like Criterion, Intense Mindset, Absolute Power, Scorpion Strike. Those are all kind of more dynamic hockey stick, hook set type of shapes. Cypher would fit under that. So you have to, unfortunately, get some experience going. And the best way to do it is to have your pro shop watch you, and hopefully your pro shop knows what they're doing. But you've got to figure out what strengths of balls you throw first. Then you have to figure out what shapes of balls you generally like best. But then you have to pay attention to oil volumes, lane surfaces. Yeah, that's why demo days would be really helpful. The problem is that it costs. There's unfortunate problems with demo days, because a lot of people show up to demo days because they're like 10 or 20 bucks, and showing up and bowling for 2 hours, you can bowl with all the newest stuff for 2 solid hours for like 10 or 20 bucks. And people use that for cheap practice and to get to throw all the new stuff. There's a lot of people that show up to demo days that have absolutely no intention of buying a ball. They just want to show up and throw all the new stuff for a couple hours and get some good practice in for cheap. And the other thing is that they have to have several different balls with different fits and in some different weights too. And drilling 2 cases of balls just to sell a couple. I mean, you'll have, 4 15-pound of this, 4 14-pound of this, and whatever else. And they may only sell like 2 or 3 of those balls at the demo days. They might sell none of them. And so, unfortunately, the demo days are just cost prohibitive. So they'll have, one company will send, 50 balls to a general area, and you might only have a local demo days, once or twice a year from certain companies. Yeah, I've ended up watching more of your stuff because I feel you talk about this exact thing: shape of the ball, cover, how to throw it the best, which works, which way to adjust cover stock, the word. Yeah, I try, but it's very difficult to do it concisely and have it make sense and have it understandable. And there's just, unfortunately, bowling is not done on paper. you cannot boil this stuff down mathematically. You can't boil it down to, well, this ball's a pearl and these are the cover number, or these are the core numbers and whatever else, because you can have something like the mantra is an asymmetric pearl and the hammer effect is an asymmetric pearl, and or just the hitter actually would probably be a better, the hitter, the attention star. The hammer effect is the effect. I keep feeling like the effect's a hybrid, but it's not. I don't think. I think the effect's a pearl. Hammer effect, pearl, yes, cohesion pearl. HK22 cohesion pearl. The hammer effect is a pearl. The hammer effect is an asymmetric pearl. The hitter and the attention star are also asymmetric pearls, and the hammer effect outhooks both of those by like an arrow. So you can't just see asymmetric pearl and asymmetric pearl and have that mean anything. Unfortunately, that's just very unfortunate to people that are trying to make sense of this stuff so that they can figure it out and so that they can get anywhere with it. And unfortunately, you're going to have some trial and error, and you're going to have some pro shops that are on staff with a company that push their company. And you have to hope that they know what they're talking about, because when I was on staff with Storm, so many of their staffers were just idiots that had no idea what they were talking about, just because, oh my God, that ball hooks more than this ball. It's like, no, that ball back ends more than this ball. It does not hook more than this ball. So you have to hope that people know what they're talking about. Also, you have the Beyond Infinity, that's a pearl, and you have the hammer effect, that's a pearl. They're both asymmetric pearls. The effect is a little cleaner, but it's much faster on the back end than the Beyond Infinity. So you can't look at those and go like, well, I think that those are generally the same strength. They have similar numbers, blah, blah, whatever. Or they don't, because the Beyond Infinity, I think, is a mild asim. But that notwithstanding, you get my point. It's very, very difficult to lock this stuff down. And so you have to use your experience. You have to use your eyes. You have to think more deeply about these things, because the more mathematic you try to make this, or the more you try to lock things down on paper, the further you're going to get away from actually understanding it. So many people have been like, well, I want to figure out a way. So asim pearl is this, asim hybrid is this, asim solid is this. It doesn't work that way, because something like the absolute power is an asim solid, but it's because of the cover stock being weaker, it's significantly weaker than something like, and I actually, the absolute power should even be further down from, this doesn't actually work now that I'm looking at this. Well, I kept putting stuff up behind other stuff, and I just put the absolute power where I put it because it's asymmetric. But it's actually weaker. I think the attention star is actually stronger than the absolute power, but the hazmat solid. I think actually we're like down here, because the optimum idle pearl is stronger than the attention star. The optimum idle pearl, the Raptor Rush, is definitely stronger than the attention star. The No Doubt stronger than the attention star, because they have stronger covers. Even though the attention star is asymmetric, these other symmetric balls have a lot stronger cover stocks, and so that's what makes this so tricky. Is figuring out, okay, so you say that this ball has a stronger cover stock than this ball. How do you know? It's like, well, part of it is company documentation, but some of it is actually just getting out and throwing the stuff and throwing it on actual oil, on actual oil volumes. Like if you threw the optimum idle and attention star together on a house shot, the attention star might actually look stronger because you've got plenty of friction. But if you get on heavier oil volumes, the attention star, because it has a medium strength cover, it's going to glide, because weaker covers need friction to hook. They need dry boards, and if they don't have dry boards, they're not going to hook. Yeah, Valerie Bercier throws it amazing too, by the way. Yeah, it can be vague at times, especially when stuff doesn't match up with the numbers in advertisement. Yes, and that's also another problem too, is that sometimes what stuff should do on paper is just not what it actually does on the lane. The Ion Pro is a very good example of that. It was supposed to be the new benchmark ball and be, you know, kind of like a Hyper Venom or a Blue Coral Venom Obsession Tour, something like that. It's not as strong as any of those. It's significantly weaker. I wouldn't touch more difficult conditions with it because it sees the friction way too hard and doesn't see the oil at all. It's really good on a house shot, but that's not what it was designed for. If you buy an Ion Pro thinking you're getting an Obsession Tour or a Black Venom or something like that, that you're getting catfished, because it's just not that at all. Yeah, like Kevin says, if you want to get better, you just have to. And that's again where you said that it wasn't Kevin, but said that demo days would be nice. So yeah, so that you can get out and try the different balls and figure out where stuff fits. The other unfortunate thing about the demo days too is that they varied. Like the first couple that they run, everything is fresh out of the box, but they just keep using them. A lot of places, a lot of demo day, they just ship balls from different place to different place. They don't resurface the stuff. They don't even clean the stuff. So if you're like 5-6 demo days down the road, you're throwing stuff that's got like 50-60 games on it that is not at box surface, that's had a lot of use and abuse, and it may not act like what it's supposed to act like. Christian, thank you very much. Appreciated. Super chat. Love the insight. Wanted to know if the Summit Ascent overlaps with my Exponent too much. Keep up the content. The Summit Ascent and Exponent have very similar strength. I think it's the same cover, actually. But the Summit Ascent has the stronger core. So the Summit Ascent is like a half a step up from the Exponent. They feel very familiar, similar to each other. It's just the Summit Ascent has a little bit stronger core, but I think it does overlap pretty significantly across the board. So yeah, thank you very much for the donation. I'll leave that up there for a minute. Can you use the IQ Tour on a sport shot, or is it just good on house? Well, the IQ Tour, it used to be like the benchmark ultimate sport ball. I think it's just kind of fallen out now that it's not quite. Oil, balls got stronger, oil volumes got higher, and so the IQ Tour just isn't as relevant anymore as it used to be. But yeah, it's still very good on medium volume, medium length sport conditions when something like an NV Tour is too strong. And now that I'm saying that, I'm thinking that somebody asked where the NV Tour would be on the list. The NV Tour it's a very strong ball. It would be on top of the Evoke. I would put it on top. I would put it over the Evoke. I'd put it between the Evoke and the One Reverb, because it's a very strong ball. But it's not to the degree of an Ion Max or something. Also, try to have many angles into the pocket with what you have. I like to be able to switch balls during transition and really know what they're going to do. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is that I generally carry around, I stick, because I'm a lefty, number one, I stick within similar hook potential zones. I just like to carry different, and I like rounder shapes, but I like different variations of the rounder shapes. Like I carry the Summit with me. I have been taking the No Doubt. I've been taking the Ion Pro. I just drilled a Kinetic Cobalt. And so outside of the Ion Pro, like the No Doubt, the Summit, and the Kinetic Cobalt are very similar shapes. It's just the No Doubt is the cleanest and the sharpest, the Summit's the earliest and the smoothest, and the Kinetic Cobalt fits kind of in between them. So they're all very similar hook potentials. It just depends on, okay, are the back ends slow tonight? Are they soft? Do I need something like a No Doubt that's going to fly on the back end? Or do I need something like a Summit? Or maybe the back ends are super crispy and the No Doubt's turning sideways. Then I need something like a Summit that's going to roll earlier and be smoother down lane. Harsh Pearl versus DNA Coil in terms of length and back end overall, they're very similar overall strength. The DNA Coil is just cleaner and sharper. They're also very similar. They've got that kind of archy shape to them. The Harsh Reality Pearl's got a little bit of tumble to it, but they're very similar on overall hook potential. The DNA Coil is just cleaner and sharper. Love the lives. Thanks for doing these. I'm a rev dominant one-hander. Use my Teal Rhino Pro for league and looking something to pair with. I've been looking at a Max Thrill Pearl. Well, actually, they have the, if I'll get this, thanks again, Christian, for the donation. They just released, or actually the Ivory Rhino Pro is getting ready to come out. It's a shiny version of the teal. So if you like the teal and you want something a little cleaner and sharper, the Ivory is coming out in a couple days. It's coming out next week, or this it is still kind of next week since it's still Saturday night. But so yeah, this is why I wanted to do a live with this, and it's difficult. It's just difficult because I feel like I haven't really, aside from ranking balls again, I don't really. It's difficult. It's just difficult because I feel like I'm having trouble explaining it. I'm not, it's just kind of scattered and all over the place. And you might be more confused now than you were when you got here. But again, my advice, watch a lot of video, watch a lot of reviews from a lot of different people, see what they have to say about certain balls, see what you're naturally drawn towards, see what you you're, subconsciously, you, I think, realize or recognize a whole lot more than you think you do. And so if you find yourself just naturally drawn to certain balls, figure out why that is. Is it the shape? Is it the colors? And even something as stupid as colors, sometimes you see certain colors better. Like sometimes there are people out there that's like, I can't do the bright balls, the bright or multicolored balls, because it just confuses me. I can't see the ball roll. But other people will say, well, if it's all the same color, I can't tell what the hell it's doing. So generally, that's why you see more tour type of balls, or balls that are meant to be more controllable, smoother. Those are more uniform colors. The balls that are because they don't want all the bright, flashy colors distracting them from what the ball's doing. The Evoke, I think, it'd be one that goes kind of the opposite, that kind of flips the script a little bit. But maybe you need to see brighter colors because you have trouble seeing the ball rolling if it's a more uniform color. Sometimes you want the uniform color so that you're not distracted. Sometimes maybe you're attracted to something because it's a rounder shape. Do you like watching stuff like the Evoke, like the Vaporize, like the GB5, the Optimum Idol, Optimum Pearl? Do you like watching stuff like, do you find yourself drawn or attracted to that type of ball roll? Or do you like seeing stuff that's sharper on the back end? Does that help your eye for ball reaction pick up on it? And then again, what general strength of stuff do you use? Do you normally use a lot of ASIMs? Do you normally have to have stuff that's stronger? Or do you normally have to have stuff that's weaker? I think it's not so much. I think you probably already know a lot more than you think you know. You just have to engage and pay more attention to what you're seeing. Like when I'm bowling at league, this was something that or when you're just bowling anything in general, this is something that I talked about on, which it's like one of those things. It's like, okay, well, I get to league, I throw 3 or 4 balls in practice. They all look great. Which one do I pick? There's actually several different, I made a video talking about that, and there's several different factors that go into what ball would I pick for, oh crap, I'm missing comments. Yeah, somebody mentioned the Tank Rampage Pearl that came out in January, I believe. Where would the gem? The gem would be under. It would be above the Ion Max, but below the Mesmerize. The Mesmerize is just it. just tune in, we'll watch from beginning later. As someone just starting out, what advice would you give to build an arsenal gradually aside from a poly spare ball? One thing that you can generally trust is that generally screw the lightning blackout. But one thing you can generally trust is that the more a ball costs, the more it will hook, or the stronger it will be. You can also just look at the way that we have these ranked. The Mesmerize, the Ion Max, Hammer Effect, Archetype Hybrid, Vaporize. These balls are some of the most expensive out there because they are the strongest. Then you get down a little bit further here, the GB5, it's a little bit less. The Optimum Motive stuff, this is again, Motive kind of screws this up a little bit because they generally cost more. Motive stuff costs 20 to 30 bucks more than its counterpart. Once in a while you get something like Hammer is generally very affordable because it's a very popular brand, and so they intentionally try to keep most of their stuff as affordable as possible. But then you have stuff like an XL, it's top of the line pricing, but it's not in the same realm as a Mesmerize. But generally speaking, if you buy an XL, it still hooks a decent amount. It still hooks plenty. You may not need Mesmerize strong. You might get an XL, and that might be the top of your bag, and you might be perfectly happy with that. But generally, the more something costs, the stronger it's going to be. You get down to the weaker stuff. The Hustles are weaker. They're cheaper. The Cypher's cheaper. The Endeavor's cheaper. Fireball, the Road, again, the Lightning Blackout, it was just an absolute mistake. Kaboom is cheaper. The Tundra, Rhino, Hustles, all that stuff's a little cheaper. So as someone starting out, I would go talk to your pro shop. Your pro shop is going to be your best resource. They will be able to watch you bowl. They're going to know what the conditions are like in the center that you bowl at. And so they'll be able to put you in a general, okay, how do you throw the ball? And then where do you bowl? They'll be able to put you in some general options. And probably the best way to start off with is buy one ball. So get a spare ball. As a starter ball, you're not going to want to go with one of these big, giant, super big hooking, super expensive ASIMs. You're going to want to start somewhere in the middle with something more benchmarky, something like the Messenger Power Core, or an Exponent Pearl, or a Venom Shock. A Venom Shock is always a great ball. The Hyper Venom, Exponent Pearl, Summit Ascent. Stuff like that that's not super crazy, and then figure out where you need to go from there. So if you buy a Summit Ascent, let's just pick that one out. If you buy a Summit Ascent and you start throwing it, you're going to notice it's like, okay, well, this ball is too sharp for me, or it's too smooth for me, or it's a little too weak. I wish I had something that hooked more. Or this actually hooks a little bit too much for me. Based on what that does, you'll be able to then go back and tell your pro shop, it's like, okay, I have the Summit Ascent. It's a little too smooth for me and it's not quite strong enough. What would you recommend? That puts them in a great place to say, oh, okay, so if you like that, but if you just need something stronger, we're going to go with the Hazmat Solid. So you get a Hazmat Solid, and then you see what that ball does. And you say, well, I don't know. It's a little, that one's a little too strong for me to throw. It's just a little too strong. And it also kind of it just kind of hits flat too often. It's like, okay, well, it's a little more arcy. It's a more directional ball. So you need something that's stronger than a Summit Ascent, that's not as strong as a Hazmat Solid, and maybe something that's a little bit rounder and more continuous. So we're going to look at, maybe we go Attention Star. Maybe we go with something, Optimum Idol, something that's, maybe you need something with some shine on it that's a little bit rounder shape, that's a little bit more continuous. And so this is, you don't want to buy like 4 or 5 balls all at the same time, or you don't want to pick out things on this list and say, okay, I'm putting together an arsenal, and so I need to go out and buy the entire arsenal right now, and I need to just pick stuff that I think I'm going to like, or I'll just pick something from, I need to have too many people think about arsenal building like this. It's like, okay, well, I need to have a sanded ASIM at the top, and then I need to have a shiny ASIM, and then I need to have a stronger symmetric ball, and then I need to have a shiny symmetric ball, and then I need to have this, I need to have that. That may not work out at all, depending on, do you bowl a lot of tougher tournaments? Do you bowl just on house shots? What do you bowl? How often are you going to use this stuff? So just because you say, well, I need a strong sanded asim at the top of my bag, you may never use it. It might not ever be something that you use. You may not need a mesmerize. Like I said, and I don't get to throw, even though I keep the evoke around for tougher conditions, because I do bowl a fair amount on tougher conditions. If I was just bowling on house shots only, the top ball in my bag would be the Vaporize, which is pretty clean and flippy. And it's a stronger, shiny asymmetric ball, but I wouldn't need anything sanded. I don't need anything, even the GB5. I would maybe throw it sometimes, but the Summit actually worked out better in that kind of zone for me. And it's even a little, it was just too strong for me to throw. Now, once it shined up, it got into better territory, but then it was a little in between, too strong and too fast at the same time. The Vaporize was fast, but it was really fast. And so I can just kind of fling it at the spot and watch it flip. The GB5 was strong enough that I had to get inside a little bit and swing it a little bit to get it down the lane. But once I got inside, then sometimes it was a little symmetric, solid. And so sometimes it's just a little too smooth on the back end. And then I tried to straighten up a little bit, and then it would hook too early. And so it would just kind of put me out of, it just never quite fit. It was too strong for me to play straighter with, but it was too slow for me to play in with. So then that's where I go something like Vaporize, where it's like, oh, okay, well, it's clean, so it gets down the lane, but then it really turns sideways, and so I can count on it to both get down the lane and then turn pretty good into the pocket. Phase AI versus Optimum Idle Pearl. The Optimum Idle Pearl is definitely the stronger ball. I think the Phase AI is a little sharper. I am the best also. Thanks for recognizing that. Greatness recognizes greatness. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. The Optimum Idle Pearl is a little earlier and smoother. It's a little rounder of a shape. I think it's a little more continuous. The Phase AI is a lot like the Phase 3. So there's a lot of people that, I think the Phase AI is a little cleaner and sharper than the 3. The 3 was a little stronger. Very similar shapes, though, kind of the tumbly arc. I've watched the Sublime Focus, and to me, it looks like it has more back end than expected. Yeah, it has a lot more back end, especially when it, like, once you get it shined up a little bit, or once you get the box, which you knock the dust off, is what is a bowling term. Is basically they mean that if something comes really dull out of the box or is really chalky, once you get some games on it and it shines up a little bit, yeah, the Sublime Focus is very, very well. The original Sublime was very fast too, but yeah, the Focus is once you get a couple games on it, it gets very fast. Just realized I have 8 balls on your list. So yeah, so if you have 8 balls on the list, so then figure out which ones you like, which ones you throw the most often. And again, like I said, it's not, when you do an arsenal, when you build an arsenal, it's not about hitting spit. Again, it's not about, okay, well, I need this because somebody said that I needed it, and I need this, and I need this. You have to build it within, number one, what you think you're actually going to use, what kinds of balls work good for you. You don't want to just put together an arsenal on paper. You want to put together an arsenal that you're actually going to use, full of stuff that you do kind of normally, regularly use anyway. This is just a tool of ranking the overall kind of strengths of balls to help get you in the ballpark of, if you're going to look for stronger balls, see which balls you have on this list and see what stuff is one side or the other. And the other tricky thing is going to be is that if you have, say, an Optimum Idle, and you go to get a ball and you buy the Attention Star that's a ball down from it, the Attention Star is going to be flippier on the house shot and might out hook the Optimum Idle because the Optimum is going to be smoother. And so the Attention Star may not really be necessarily a ball down in the way that you're thinking ball down. You might actually, just because the attention starts cleaner and sharper, you might not want cleaner and sharper. You might just want weaker. So if you have an optimum idle, you might go summit ascent as a ball down because it's going to be of similar shape and similar friction response. It's just going to be weaker. So whenever you go cleaner, you don't necessarily always want cleaner and sharper. So just because, again, a lot of people build arsenals based on, okay, I need a big, strong, heavy oil ball, and then I need a cleaner, sharper complement to that, and then I need a strong symmetric ball, and then I need a cleaner, sharper complement to that. You might want smooth onto you might get a lot of back end out of stuff to begin with. So you might want smooth, weaker smooth, weaker smooth, weaker smooth, weaker smooth. You might want the same exact shape out of everything and just adjust the hook potentials. Sometimes you might want to kind of mix and match a little bit. Because like I said, I don't really need weaker because the lanes don't ever transition. I need a variance of sharper and smoother. So it's all in just paying more attention. And I think the point that I was getting to before I got sidetracked was that it was about figuring out what to use in league. Pay attention to, a lot of people just pay attention to their own ball reaction. They don't watch who they're bowling with, what they're throwing, how they're transitioning the lane, whatever else. I spend a whole lot more time watching the people around me, and you don't have to own a ball to figure out what it does. You can see, okay, well, I'm throwing this ball and I'm bowling on the same lane as somebody throwing this ball and this ball and this ball and this ball. And you can see how their ball is hooking, where it's hooking, how much it's hooking, how fast or how sharp it is on the back end. You can watch all this extra stuff. You can see it from other people throwing the balls. I mean, there's all kinds of people. You got, if you bowl in even 4-person leagues, you got 8 people on your pair to watch. You got 8 people on the pair to your right, 8 people on the pair to your left. So you've got, 24 people right there that are all going to be throwing different stuff that you can watch to see what that stuff does. So you just have to, it's about paying more attention and thinking more deeply about these things. You seem to be emphasizing your favorite shape. What about the Barnes system of strong, medium, weak, smooth, and angular? Yeah, and all kinds of people have different systems too. So just because I think this certain way, other people have different ways of doing it. And when I used to coach people, I figured out pretty quickly that some people are very mathematic and some people are some people are black and white and some people think very colorfully or very, very complex. Some people like it simple and boiled down. It's like, okay, I'd A, B, C. And some people, you have to explain it in different ways. And so sometimes there was one person specifically that was very mathematical, that I found out that was very mathematical. And the way that I was explaining things to them was not working. Like they were just very, very confused. And so once I stopped and got a little more scientific and mathematical, all of a sudden that made it click and everything was fine from there. So if something I'm saying just is not clicking or not making sense and something that somebody else says you identify with more, then go with that. Absolutely. Whatever makes sense to you is what you need to come to terms with. And that's the other thing, is that it's so experience-based. The way that some person explains ball reaction may be completely different from how you see and understand it. And so a lot of the time, this is something that I have a very big fault with, is that I think, okay, well, this person is more experienced than I am. They're better than I am. They've done it longer than I have. And so I need to listen to them and copy them or try to do it their way. And that just did not work for a lot of things. It just made sense to me to kind of go my own direction. So you need to take little bits and pieces of, okay, this makes sense from this person. I like how J.R. Raymond explains this. I like how Hutch explains this. I like how Luke explains this, and kind of put it all together and make your own. If we may see a certain ball reaction the same way, but explain it completely differently. Like James Niffen, that used to do stuff on the channel I used to have him in some ball reviews. Him and I butted heads quite a bit early on because we just did not, number one, see ball reaction the same way because our games were totally different. And so we had to figure out how to communicate because the way that we saw ball reaction was different. The way that we experienced ball reaction was different. And both of them are valuable. And we're on the same wavelength now where we know what wavelength we need to be on to be able to communicate with each other. But we found out that we do see stuff. We are seeing the same things. It just we're experiencing them and communicating them very differently, or how they affect us is different. So, what would you say the optimum idle is closest to in the? Would you say the optimum idle is closest to the Summit in the SPI line? Yeah, the optimum idle is the closest thing that you're going to get to replacing a Summit. I don't think that you would have trouble finding Summits or finding them for cheap, though, because it wasn't a terribly popular ball. My team, 3 people using virtual gravity is an old, they're using old radical Bigfoot. They believe nothing in new tech. You're considered a bum for believing in new tech. So we just don't have pro shops near. Yeah, that's the thing, is that bowling ball technology has not gone very far. I mean, and the way that you can look at this is the number of balls that are still around. Like the Venom Shock is over 10 years old, and it is still very viable against it's still one of the better balls on the market. And so now Brunswick has found something really great in HK22, and Storm, I think, is having mixed reception with this AI stuff. That I think they're putting it on too much stuff, and they're going too whole hog on it because it's they're making a bigger deal out of it than it's actually effective. But the range where good ball reaction is very small. And even the rules on ball tech, as far as the USBC rules and specifications and whatever else, they're more or less goalposts on the outside of where ball reaction kind of is good to begin with. Like I think the maximum RG that you can have is 2.8, but you just notice that nothing gets above 260 because ball reaction just sucks above that. The ball never gets into a roll. It just kind of, unless you're doing like urethane, like the purple, like the hammer, the black hammer, the purple hammer, like 265. And even though they put a limit on differential at 060, the studies say that anything north of 070 is kind of irrelevant. And you by drilling stuff, if you drill stuff really strong, you can get an 056 ball up to 065 or 070 anyway. It's just the curve kind of flattens off after 070, so you can get higher than that, but you're not getting any benefit out of it. I think the RG limit is low 240s, 242 or something like that. I can't remember the low RG limit, but it's not a whole lot lower than the lowest that they go. But if you get into like the 230s, ball reaction is going to suck there. And they make a big deal out of like the AI carrying off hits or dynamic core hitting harder or whatever else. Well, USBC also has a limit on coefficient of restitution, which basically restricts how bouncy a ball can be. But at the same time, you don't want a ball to hit too hard, because then you want the pins staying low and going side to side so they hit the other pins. You don't want to hit the pins and have them all go up into the stratosphere, because they don't go side to side and hit each other. Yeah, well, so it's complicated. Where does NRG fall in strength to the B7 line? That's hard to, because it's it's confused. It's a little confusing because I would say NRG falls kind of with the Tour, like the Tour V2. It's almost, I mean, I think it's as strong as like the NV Tour cover. So like the Tour V2 that was on the Obsession Tour, and then the NV Solid that's on the NV Tour. I think NRG is kind of there, but HK22 is tough because they have HK22 as a base, and all the kind of different additives can make it go all over the place. So like the cohesion additive makes like the effect and the one reverb and all that stuff very strong and dynamic. But the Kaboom is also an HK22 ball and is pretty clean and on the weak side of things. So the Ivory Rhino actually has HK22 base on it too, and it's pretty clean and sharp. So I must have drilled or done something wrong to my one reverb. I don't have it as a one ball. It may not be a one ball for you. And that it is a cleaner and sharper ball. And depending on your conditions, your game, whatever else, it could be a three ball for you. You know, you might just need it's a two ball for Angel because it's strong, but it's not mesmerized strong. And so yeah, that's why you can kind of shuffle these things back and forth, and depending on what you bowl on, there's a lot of the pros actually look more at how fast a ball is or how responsive a ball is, in terms of, so they might have the Sub-Zero a lot further down on the list because of how smooth it is, because they bowl on a lot of oil there's a lot of volume, and so they generally look at how slow or how fast something is, and then they adjust the hook potential more with surface than a lot of the time. There's surface is used a lot. That's why I tend to, I throw stuff at box just to see what it does at box, but that's why we sand everything to 1,000 grit for Angel, because nothing with shine looks good for her. It just doesn't. And so even though the box surface appears, well, you need to throw it the way that the manufacturer intends it, the pros don't. They look at shapes and how slow or fast something is, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this fits really well and this looks good. It just, I need to take it to 500, or I need to take it to 3,000 or something. They see if something fits, and then they adjust how slow or how fast it is. Oh. Where would the theorem be? The theorem, not as strong. It'd be, I think, right around the intense mindset. Or actually, it's cleaner and sharper. It's kind of strong, but it's not strong. So it might be around the mantra, actually. I'd put it between the mantra and the DNA coil, probably. Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's my issue. I watch, but still can't tell what I think I'm seeing, so it makes it hard for me to choose the right ball. I feel like I waste money buying the wrong ball most of the time. And some people do have trouble seeing it, and some people just don't have good eyesight, period. Some people, their eyesight actually hurts them a little bit. They're kind of limited on what they can see. And so some people are actually, I've talked to some people that are like, I can't see it right. And it makes it really tricky. It's like, if somebody can tell me where to stand, what ball to throw, then I'm fine. But it's like, I just can't see the stuff. And that's kind of unfortunate for some people that it doesn't click, or they can't see it right. And sometimes it's just an experience thing. Yeah, where the hell is the XL? Where did I put it? Where is the XL? Oh, yeah, it's between the DNA coil and the hitter. I was told get a Summit. It's a great benchmark. I found it. Yeah. The Summit is a very, it's kind of a benchmark ball, but it's a really strong benchmark ball. Oh crap. Sorry, numbers. Super chat, $5. Thank you. Appreciate it. I only bowl league on higher friction, but I'm going to nationals next year. Would you recommend buying a top tier ball just for that? You're going to need something strong with some surface on it. Because one of the patterns is kind of shorter and flatter, and so you're going to need surface for it. But the team pattern this year felt short and dry, but it really wasn't. You need some surface to blend it out. But doubles and singles, you did need some stronger stuff for. So yeah, you're going to need a max bias or an ion max or harsh reality and evoke, Black Widow 3.0, you're probably going to need something fairly strong. But that would be something I would talk to your pro shop about. I would not buy something at Nationals because they're just going to sell you whatever. You know, their whole thing, buying a ball there is just, they realize that they have to work on very limited information, and they sometimes they do have really good insight on, yeah, I've been seeing a lot of these balls, and these balls generally look pretty good for people on this particular pattern. They one of my buddies bought an XL because people are saying, yeah, there are a lot of people doing well with it, and he shot 750 in the BJ and then used it pretty much the entire tournament, I think, and had a really good tournament. And so sometimes you really can trust what because they're there every day. They're there watching and seeing what's going on. And so, but at the same time, they're there to sell people equipment. So, yeah, my PSO talked me into a magic gem. It looks great in my garage. Yeah, and that's the trick sometimes, is that pro shops do definitely want to sell you equipment. And some of them that are on staff really want to sell the newest thing, and so that they can send good numbers to their rep and whatever else. So sometimes it's a mixed bag. You never know who to trust or who even knows what they're talking about. Sometimes there's a lot of pro shop guys that do it for a hobby and don't really keep up on stuff or don't really know what they're talking about. It's just, unfortunately, why you have to do a lot of your own research and put in a lot of your own effort to figure out what you need. And sometimes you're going to be wrong. I would have people come in sometimes. It's like, yeah, I watched a bunch of videos and I did my research and this is the ball that I picked. And I'm like, really? Really? Some Descent or Phase AI for two-handed bowler on a house shot. Again, it's kind of tricky to tell. Do you need the Summit Ascent's going to be a little weaker and smoother, and the Phase AI is going to be longer and sharper? Phase AI is a little stronger. Two-hander, I would probably lean more Ascent because it's going to be more controllable. No doubt after the hitter Pearl when moving left. If you're more of a roller, I would imagine No Doubt creating a Freddie Flintstone. Yeah, going over the thumb hole of the pin deck. Yeah, and that's tricky because the No Doubt is symmetric, so it's going to be a little slower the further you get inside, whereas the hitter Pearl is asymmetric, so it's gonna handle the angle. It's gonna have more torque and handle the angle better, but it's a little cleaner. The cover stock's a little cleaner and weaker than the No Doubt, I think. So you typically don't use symmetric balls moving left, but at the same time, it does a whole lot of stuff for a symmetric ball. I was able to get pretty deep with it on the left side on a fresh pattern. So checked in 10 minutes ago. Is there any rhyme or reason to the order of the balls within each tier? Yeah, they're rated on general strength, but then they're also rated within their tier on strength, if that makes sense. So 1 is stronger than 2, 2 stronger than 3, but then they're also rated based on, like, the Mesmerize is the strongest ball on the list, period. The Ion Max is pretty close, it's a little weaker. The Harsh Reality Pearl is the weakest ball in the top tier list, and then the Ultimate Defender is a little bit weaker than the Harsh Reality Pearl, but it's it's enough that there's a separation between the tiers there. Would buying a pro shop be a good way to build an arsenal? Probably. Yeah, the Evoke I really do like the Evoke, but it's just too smooth for me to use. It's a little too strong, a little too smooth for me to use very often. What ball for only house shots and 11 miles an hour at the pins? You're probably going to want something on the weaker side. I would say one of the Max Thrills or like the Hustle BRY, because house shots are normally kind of dry and you want something a little bit weaker. Have you ever seen a virtual gravity thrown for 13 years actually not be orange anymore? Yeah, I've seen some balls change some colors, and I'll be like, "What are you throwing?" And they'll say, "Well, I'm throwing this." Then whoa, really? That doesn't look anything like that ball. Arctic Vibe has been a hit at my center, which is always hot and high friction. Yeah, if it's high friction, the Arctic Vibe hooks a little bit more than it should to begin with, but it's still technically kind of on the weaker side, and so it fits that high friction stuff pretty good. So diminished returns, yeah. Listen to me ramble, yeah. Hide message, okay. Oh balls, yeah. I got to get through this and get off of here because we got to go. We're shooting some video tomorrow. Yeah, so this is an interesting point. Is it just me, or does it happen across all brands? Older balls, 5 or 6 years or older, seem to retain reaction much longer than newer balls nowadays. Yes and no. The thing is that all new balls have a break-in period. And so the stronger or more dynamic the ball is out of the box, the more you're going to notice it when it kind of settles in. Something that's already kind of medium strength, like a Summit Ascent, you're not going to notice that big of a difference. Messenger Power Core Pearl, stuff that's shinier to begin with. Flippier stuff, you're going to notice it's going to get smoother, and really strong stuff when it lane shines is going to get quite a bit, So if you have a ball that comes out of the box, like an NV Tour at like 1500 grit or a GB5 at 1500 grit, hooks off the lane out of the box because it's just it's a strong ball and it's got a ton of surface. But when it shines up, the surface difference is so big that it gets quite a bit weaker and gets sharper. Something like a Hitter Pearl, you're going to notice that it's going to get smoother. But balls now are stronger and more dynamic than they used to be, and so you're going to notice it more when they fall off. But most of the time, strong and dynamic is not good for scores. Most of the time, if something's really sharp out of the box, you generally want it to slow down a little bit so it's more consistent, more controllable. Same thing with stronger balls. Sometimes the stronger balls are just going to be too strong, and you're just going to need. It's like, okay, well, I like the Mesmerize, but it just needs to get the dust knocked off. All right, I'm going to try to catch up with comments and then get out of here. What makes a great ball to drill a short pin? Drilled a higher RG solid sim and loved it. Then do a second ball, lower RG. Generally, rounder shapes, I think, look better for short pins. You don't want something because rounder shapes, smoother stuff, because you don't want to take a ball like a Vaporize and short pin it because it wants to be long and flippy. Very good short pin candidates would be like GB5, Optimum Idol, Stealth Hybrid, Super CUDA. Maybe even when you get to the weaker side of things, an Endeavor, I think, would be an absolutely horrid short pin ball because it wants to be long and flippy. And the point of drilling short pin is to get something smoother and more controllable. A short pin Endeavor would go sideways one time and just spin another time. Still 2-2. Yankees need to get some work done here because they need to hit the over. And they need to win. Would the Vaporize be good on the fresh? It is for me on our house shot, but it may be too clean and flippy for some people. They may need some friction to show up or a little bit more stability. It might be too clean and flippy. So it's maybe. Where would the Hustle Rip fit? I would put it down by the Rhino and the Tundra. I think it'd be probably the Hustle Rip would be down there by the Hustle BRY. So it'd be in the 5-ball spot, probably between the Tundra and the BRY. All right. I've caught up on the comments. We've been going for 3 hours. I need to get to bed because we got to get up and get stuff done tomorrow for some more ball reviews. Thanks everybody for hanging out. If you saw this later, sorry you missed out on the Genesis giveaway.
But we have Doggo fundraiser.
Yeah, we've got Doggo fundraiser stuff coming up here soon, so we'll start talking about that. I appreciate everybody that could make it, and I'm sorry if I couldn't make it to the live tonight. I will, so that means if I didn't make it to the live, I couldn't get free stuff. Sorry.
Well, and trying to do the giveaways after the fact.
It's wait, yeah. Yeah, luck of the draw. Sorry. Congrats to the people that won. Sorry to the people that didn't. This is why I hate giveaways. But anyway, it's good stuff. Hopefully everybody likes it. Try out some Genesis stuff. I've liked it. I'm wearing I've got the K-Motion tape on right now. It's good stuff. Thanks, Big B. For someone started 2 months ago, would you recommend them the Ion Max or something weaker? Probably something weaker. You don't when you're starting, you don't want to be fighting something that's really strong or really dynamic or really flippy. So, yeah, you're probably going to want to start with something lower end, cheaper. That, yeah. Sorry, Tyler, we gave away some Genesis stuff earlier. Sorry, I hate giveaways. Because most people have to lose. Just the way it goes. I think the phase 3 would be a good step down from a conspiracy. Yeah, actually. It might be too big of a step down, but I threw the phase 3 all the time. So, no, shot 300 with an Ascent, getting a phase AI. Congrats. So, yeah. Thanks everybody. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for all the stuff. Thanks for hanging out. We had a lot of people in here. Hopefully this made sense. Hopefully you learned something. Yeah, it's confusing. It's very complex, very involved, very experience driven. So yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out. I'm going to get out of here before I get any more questions and get stuck again. So thanks for hanging out. We